SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Knowing Tristan as much as I do and as well as I do, he's such a great teammate. I knew his first concern was that the players wouldn't feel like he was letting them down, and he was still going to be there to support them. And again, he has such affection for his brothers and wants to help them. And I thought he did a great job in just passing on his heart.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Like a bullet break. Oh, he's gone. There he goes, galloping, chased on the play by Carson Truffaut. Give him 6. What a play. 70-yard run. Dalvin Cook.
Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go on this Friday, week number 13 of the Texas high school football season, and also week number 2 of the high school playoffs. A couple of things to get to. Cowboys back in action this weekend. Salato's Alvin Hare will join us. They have a matchup with Belleville, 9-1 against 10-1 in a 4A Division II playoff game. How about the Tulsa Hurricane and the Golden Hurricane? Philip Montgomery, of course, Jackson players on that team. Zach Smith, the quarterback from Granby, played at Baylor. He went out. Tyreek James caught a touchdown for Tulane in that game, the former China Spring star. How about Tulsa and what they're doing, winning these games, coming from behind double-digit deficits 4 times this season alone?
They're an impressive team, and that game was scoreless at half, I believe. So it was wild. I mean, to go in a game and Zach Smith got hurt and they had to play with their backup quarterback. Not a bad go for the Golden Hurricane.
No, it's been a good run for them. A lot of close games. A similar year to Baylor last year, where they're just able to find ways to win at the end. And when you're able to do that makes 5-1 rather than 1-5. We've basically seen Tulsa do what Baylor's been incapable of doing, and not that the situations have been the complete same, but similar, and that Tulsa's just able to finish, and that's what makes the difference. That's why they're 5-1 and not 2-3 or 1-5 at this point.
A lot of high school games tonight, of course. Last night, Temple won District 12 6A. They beat Shoemaker on a 4th down stand near midfield. Their quarterback, Humberto Arizmendi, will join us today at 3:30. Led the team. Howard, the running back, had a big game, but the defense came up with a stop. We'll hear from him today at 3:30. Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, normally Tuesday, today 4:15. Grayson on how Baylor tries to bounce back from the hit of losing Murphy from DeSoto at 3:45 today. And then Paul Catalina focuses on South Carolina after the transition with Will Muschamp out. 5 o'clock hour, we'll also have the interview that we have had before. The 2 most popular hits this week, Phil Bennett at 5 o'clock, Blake Blackmar at around 5:30. We have Riker football tonight against Calvary Christian out of Fort Worth, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kick. Will also be on 106.7 FM, the Eagle. No Baylor game this weekend. I don't even know the final because I didn't have time. I should look it up. Did you hear about Sherman and McKinney high school football game?
No.
They're playing at, I think they're playing in Sherman. The game had, the stadium had transformer issues in the middle of, I guess, the last 3 minutes of the game. They had to move the game because it was so important. They moved the game from where they were playing, I think in Sherman, and they moved to Ron Post Stadium in McKinney with 3 minutes left in the game to finish the game.
Oh, my gosh.
Which is a little bit different.
Yeah, that's weird. That's wild.
I've never seen that before. I've seen games. I've even been a part of a couple of games that did not finish until after midnight. And then I've even been a part of a few games. In fact, Paul, when we were up in Everman, that was just completely destroyed because of wind, rain, and lightning.
At 7:45?
Yeah. So we've been there before. So that was interesting. There's been a couple of more high school games that have been canceled. I saw Cedar Ridge down in Austin. Their game has not been canceled but postponed. There's also a game that was against, I think, Cedar Ridge and Hutto.
Lake Travis was postponed. There's been several.
There's been a few of them that had to deal with that today, and also with games tonight. Again, we have a game, 6:30 pregame, and also 7 o'clock is the kickoff. Who do you feel like is the best player on the Dallas Cowboys roster? Text line is 254-339-1122. That's the number as well if you want to call in. Who do you think, if you rated 1, 2, and 3, the number 1, 2, and 3 best players on the Cowboys roster, who would you say? What would you say 1, 2, and 3?
Active roster?
Active roster, even including those who were injured.
Okay.
Which would include Collins, Smith, and whoever.
Dak Prescott.
Yeah, and Dak.
I would say Zach Martin, Dak Prescott, and Amari Cooper. Currently.
All right.
I mean, yeah, that sounds like a good list to me. Yeah, I mean,
You wouldn't include Tyron Smith?
Tyron Smith would be fourth to me. He's not playing.
Of course, he's broken down. All right. Jerry Jones today on his weekly interview said the best player on his team is Zeke Elliott. I would think there was a time that was possibly true. Do you feel like that's true now?
I think if I had to go into, if you said the top 5, I'd have put him 5th, just because I think he still has that. But he hasn't been playing well, and part of that's him, and part of the fact that he has one offensive lineman that you really want in front of him right now, and that's Zach Martin. And it's not like he can just run behind him all the time.
Yeah, I mean, based on what he's supposed to be the best player on the team.
Based on his contract.
That's what he's supposed to be,
Yeah.
but I don't think he is right now. I think talent level-wise that he is, but as far as actual production, he's not. So, it's been a very forgettable year for him. It's been a forgettable year for the Cowboys in general, but in particular for Ezekiel Elliott. So, he should be their best player, but as of right now, he's not.
Mike Fisher today, he put down that DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory, both with illness, as questionable for the game Sunday at Minnesota. So we knew about Gregory was ill, and they're saying that it was not, at least a couple of days ago, it was not COVID-related, and now DeMarcus Lawrence is a part of that as well. You believe him?
Yeah, I believe him. I
He
think
may be just sick.
I think lying about it's only going to get you in trouble. We saw it with the Titans or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that would do or what benefit there would really be to that. So, I mean, yeah, that's a big risk to take for not really much of a gain, quite frankly. So, yeah, I would tend to believe them on that.
All right, so there's that as well. Let's get to a couple other sports headlines. 254-339-1122. We'll have Alan Hare from Salado here in just a moment. I've gone through most of that. The University of Pittsburgh. I don't know who they're playing this week, but here's a comment from their athletics department. In alignment with the recent guidance from state officials regarding the current health climate, Pitt's football team will be appropriately outfitted for Saturday's game with face coverings to use on the field and sidelines. Virginia Tech, I guess. And it's also been communicated to the Virginia Tech sports medicine staff as well. We've seen masks. Some coaches got hammered by the NFL. Some college coaches got hammered by the media, maybe even by their conferences. Do you really think it's possible to play a game with a mask on, play a football game throughout the game with a mask on attached the entire time?
I think I'm assuming it's probably going to be a gaiter for most of the players. I think that would be the easiest thing to breathe in, but I would be tough.
Don't you have a gaiter? What is the one
no.
you wear? It looks like Hannibal Lecter. I mean, it's about.
No, I mean, I have a big. I mean, my black mask is pretty big. But
Well, you could rob a bank with that one, right? Okay. Craig gave me one that is somewhat free and easy for me to breathe. It's a little bit thicker than the ones you see at the store that are kind of light blue or whatever. Craig, do you think you could play in a game if you were in the shape to play in a game with a mask on throughout the game? Of course, the alternative is you don't play the game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if that's what I had to do, then that's what I would do. I'm sure it's going to be uncomfortable, but, it's not like they haven't had, 4 months now to practice with masks on, to do all of those different things. So, I mean, yeah, playing in a game is entirely different. I don't know that when you're having all that contact, I don't know that a mask really changes anything. So that's kind of weird to me that you're still going to be in such close contact. You're going to be still trading sweat and spit and all that, regardless of whether a mask is on. So I don't really know how that helps in that situation. But I mean, yeah, if it's what you got to do, it's what you got to do. And so hopefully they've had a little bit of buildup of wearing them in practice, and it won't be that big of an adjustment. But yeah, I guess I would just move forward with
Armstrong, what do you think?
I think it would be very difficult. I mean, you go on runs. I mean, could you go on a run with a mask on?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you're sucking in wind that hard,
There are
you just be
times,
sucking in your mask.
even if it's the first quarter mile or even if it's just a couple hundred yards, there are times when you have to go really deep into your chest, into your lungs. You get that little.
Yeah, how far do you think you could go with it? Like, I mean, and you
If it was like if you stop and you take off your mask, you die.
Yeah.
Then I would go into a very light jog. But even eventually, it would be a problem. It would absolutely be a problem. And so, yeah, I think and here's the thing: if you're wearing a mask, if it's like a mask, is whatever this material is, cotton, felt, whatever, and somebody is you're blocking somebody, won't their stuff stay on your mask? Their crap, their spit, their sweat's going to do that maybe anyway, but won't it be then lodged into? I just brought it up, just curious. Raptors are not going to play any games at home. We knew that NBA season. Who brought that up? Craig, did you bring that up earlier? Paul, they're going to play in Tampa.
Yep, Tampa. So Florida will have 2 NBA teams this year. 3 NBA teams. I'm sorry, I forgot about the Magic. Right down the road, but the Raptors, Magic, and Heat will be all in Florida this year.
Why did you forget about the Magic?
Well, I think the Magic have forgotten about the Magic, but
all right.
they're. It should be pretty interesting to have them there, and I'm sure they hope that they get back to Toronto sometime during the season, but I don't see that happening.
I mean, I'll probably watch 0 of their games, but cool. That's great for Tampa. That's money for the economy there, and maybe there's a fan base for the NBA there that you didn't really know existed, or maybe it's something that gains a little traction there in the Tampa area. That's a weird place because it's
a hell of a sports town, though, isn't it, Paul? I know that they don't support the Rays. That's never been good, even when they've been good. I think it's the location as much as anything.
The Stanley Cup champion Lightning are there, and that's where they're going to play in Amalie Arena.
Buccaneers have good crowds. I mean, this year doesn't count.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was saying, though, is that there's a split between St. Pete and Tampa, and there's not. It's not like cohesive is what I was getting at. And so it's kind of a weird sports town in that way, is that there's St. Pete and there's Tampa, and it's not just the Tampa Bay Rays or there's a little bit of a line there, but yeah, it's got good support, and they've done well with the Lightning. They've obviously had success. The Bucks have had success, here and there, and the Rays have had success, even though there's not a lot of support for them. There's, I guess, enough on TV for them to still be active, but it'll be a cool change of pace for that community, even though I'm not sure how many people will actually get to see anything, but that'll be great for Tampa Sports Radio, I suppose.
I think the TV money allows them to continue to be whoever they want, whenever they want. At St. Petersburg, again, it's a long drive from Tampa to St. Pete. It's not. You could go. It's like Dallas-Fort Worth, Arlington, or Minneapolis-St. Paul.
When you look at the Rangers, of course, the Rangers and Cowboys are right in the middle, and then the Mavericks. People will come in from Fort Worth or Arlington to see the Mavericks if they have tickets, or in the surrounding areas.
Those 2 cities are split,
but
they seem like they're still one.
Yeah,
no matter what.
But Tampa and St. Pete, it's not only like the people it's the demographics are different. In Tampa, you have a pretty normally split city when it comes to age demographics.
You cross that, whatever bridge that is, or whatever that causeway.
Well, that's the thing, is the bridge, people don't want to cross that to go from Tampa to St. Pete. So a lot of people don't go to Rays games because they don't want to deal with the hassle of the traffic.
I also think that they also go in there and you gain 25 years on your life, because most of the people across, not that there's not young people in Clearwater, whatever, Largo, or even St. Petersburg, but it's a much higher demographic, you would think, age-wise. I mean, my parents, Craig's grandmother lived there, and obviously that's a retirement type area.
A lot of artificial hips over that bridge.
We break before, or we do it now?
No, we're going to break before.
Okay, we got to take a break. We'll come back because Salado has to get on the bus at 3:30. Alan Hare from Salado, they have Belleville. And then the quarterback of the district champion Temple Wildcats will join us today at 3:30, Sic'em365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They've got the holiday savings event going on now, and that means you can save thousands of dollars on a variety of different vehicles as we head into Christmas. With the holiday savings event, it means it's the most wonderful time of the year to save big on all remaining 2020 vehicles in stock, and also on the incoming 2021 GMC Sierras. Sierra has power, first-class seating, unbeatable technology. It's a truck that has it all. And it's the best truck on the road. And during Richard Carr's holiday savings event, qualified buyers can unwrap $8,000 off a 2021 GMC Sierra Tex Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. Maybe you're looking for a top-of-the-line midsize SUV. Richard Carr's offering $7,000 off GMC Terrains or $7,500 off of Buick Envisions. You can test drive both and save big today at Richard Carr. And the ultimate gift this Christmas is a Cadillac. Save $3,000 and get 0% financing for 72 months on most Cadillacs in stock, including the XT4, XT5, and XT6. Let Richard Carr bring the Cadillac experience to you with test drives at your home or at the office. And at Richard Carr, they love their healthcare workers, military, and first responders. Right now, all these valuable community heroes get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock. And for every car or truck sold now, Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco. So get yourself a great deal and give a deserving kid a bike this Christmas. See dealer for details. The holiday sales event at Richard Carr. Get there now. Go to richardcarr.com or have them bring the test drive to you.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Dodge Performance from Allen Samuels. Dodge, ranked highest in initial quality according to J.D. Power. Get remarkable Dodge incentives, like up to $5,170 in values on new 2020 Charger SXTs, America's most affordable third-row SUV. Dodge Journey has employee pricing for all, and both Charger and Journey have no payments for 90 days. The Black Friday sales event, now at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. This high school football segment is sponsored by Southwest Sports Medicine. We'll get you back in the game.
High school playoffs, week number 2, week number 13 of the season. Salado and Belleville in one of the better matchups around the state. We're now joined by Alan Hare, head coach of Salado, 10-1. But, man, I just realized this, Alan, you're playing tonight. It has been, 20 days since you played a game?
Yes, sir. I think it's been 3 weeks, but that doesn't mean we hadn't mimicked the game in practice. So our kids are ready to play because they're tired of practice so hard.
I bet you are. You had the forfeit win against Rusk. You play Belleville tonight, and you guys were on a great roll, ran through the district. You got tested a little bit, but you really were, without question, the best team. Do you feel like you've kept that momentum despite not playing?
Well, I think, your seniors understand that, hey, we did well on that second season, which is the district season, but this is all new. And so you still got to execute, you still got to play hard. And so we plan to continue the momentum. I mean, last week was unfortunate, but, hey, we turn the page, move on. That's how that thing goes. And, we practiced long enough to execute and play hard, and let's see what happens.
Did you do anything at game speed over the last couple weeks?
Well, I'm going to go out and say that we practice at game speed because if practice is easy, the games will be hard. So we flip it around. We want practice to be hard so the games don't move by so fast. And if you learn how to practice, you can learn how to play the game.
Alan Hare with us, head football coach at Salado. Belleville is a team that has put up a lot of points this year, and they have had some teams that have made runs in the past. What are your thoughts about what they have this year?
Well, they probably should have. They were ranked in the state early, and they dropped one early to Sealy. I felt like they were the better team. There just were some unfortunate things happening in those games, turnovers and onside kicks, and they've got two of the better backs in Region 3. Of course, they score a lot of points, so we've got our hands full, of course. It's a great ball game. I think it go either way. Two good programs, and, we just got to go compete and see what happens.
How long, honestly, Alan, did it take for you as a program and those players to learn your program, what you do on offense especially, and the defense gets overlooked a lot, they shouldn't. But how long, honestly, did it take for you guys to learn how to break the huddle in warp speed without anybody moving with the discipline it takes to not move early?
Well, I think, that's the first thing we do in two-a-days. If you're not willing to be unselfish and come out of that huddle and get down, you can't play offense. If you're an attitude kid or a selfish kid or a callous kid that thinks everything else is, centered around you, you can't play on that, on the offensive side. So we try to get the right kiddo in the right spots, and it takes lots of reps. And our kids, they really like it when we could just stay in a front or stay in a set without huddling, because I'll make them huddle, maybe 20 to 25 times before we run a play. And once we earn the right to run a play, then we'll start working on plays. We can't run plays until we break the huddle break.
I think it's unfair. You should be penalized every time, every single time. It's unbelievable. I mean, really, it's almost like scary. And how many times, we saw this when you played against Conley, how many times do teams try to guess your snap count and almost inevitably they're going to be offsides?
Yes, sir. That's the advantage of winning the snap count. And, again, it makes that defensive coach work that week.
Certainly does. I can't imagine the hours spent in practice just on teaching kids how not to jump off sides on you guys.
It's a fun. You guys have done a great job. How good is Rook Brown? And obviously he's already committed to play, I think, at UL Monroe. I believe that's correct. But how good is he? And sometimes you look at his stats, he gets a few touches, but how good is he on either side of the football, and even your special teams as well?
Yeah, I mean, punter, kicker, does it all. Offensive, defensive guy. I've been in it about 30 years and had very few players that have the ability that he has. And for his size, 5'11", 175, 180, right around in there, pound for pound, probably the best football player I've ever coached for sure.
Coach, does it feel like the postseason?
In a sense, yes, and at times, no. You got these 5 and 6A still being in districts, so that kind of adds a little bit of element of, well, we're really not in the playoffs, and 2 weeks in, you got cancellations all over the place, and we're about to get on the bus and leave, and I'm just happy we're heading that way without any unfortunate, occurrences on our team or their team that, hey, we might play this deal.
Yeah, because there's a couple of games we've already mentioned, 2 or 3 today, that flared up this afternoon. They aren't going to play in the 5A or 6A level, and maybe others as well. I know you got to go, Alan. Good luck. Thank you very much. As always, love watching your team play.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you having me.
Salado 10-1, Belleville 9-1 tonight, and they'll play at UMHB. They'll play at Crusader Stadium at Belton. That's a heck of a game, and the winner of that game will get Carthage or Silsbee. And, of course, Carthage a heavy favorite in the region. At the bottom of that bracket, West Orange, Stark, and China Spring tonight playing Magnolia. Sealy and Center will be the other part of that bracket. Those winners move on to the regional semifinals.
You know, that question I asked him about, if you just think about it, add up the 9-10 games they've played this year, or the practices that they've had, and every single coach has to get his scout team ready to do that, and some of that, starters on the other side, to do that in practice and spend some time teaching them how to do it. So that's one of those things that's kind of lost time that you could be able to spend somewhere else. That's a huge advantage that you have in practice time over the week.
It's not like they're the only ones that run the offense, but they seem to have perfected the huddle very close to the line of scrimmage. Here comes the center, pretty big dude, and then boom, they're ready to go. And sometimes they're going to take the snap pretty quickly. If you're not set, they're going to probably get an edge on you in some way or a leverage on you as well. All right, we're going to hear from Temple quarterback Humberto Arizmendi in just a minute. What a win for them last night. And they had to score late and then had to hold off on a 4th down stop at 4th and 1 stop. 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 near midfield against Shoemaker to take the district championship. They still have a week, 2 weeks left, right, Craig? 2 weeks left in that district, but they are in great shape now to run. And they'll play Waxahachie in the first round of the playoffs in 3 weeks when they start in Class 6A, Division II. Humberto Arizmendi, the quarterback at Temple, joins us now on SicEm365 Radio. And I remember the game against Longview. You did not start that game, and it was kind of a rough start for both teams on offense. And then you come in the game, and the first thing I noticed was how poised you were. Where did that come from in your life, and is that just something you've always had?
It just comes from having trust in all my teammates, knowing that whatever is going on, that they're going to be in the right spot at the right time.
How big is it to get that district championship for you guys? Because you've been knocking on the door but couldn't get through the last couple of years.
It feels almost like a relief. It feels great. And to be the team that hasn't done it in 5 years, it's almost overwhelming.
Humberto, take us through last night and getting that win. Just from your perspective, what did you kind of see? How were you guys able to pull that one out?
We just stuck to what our game plan was, focusing on what we had to do and just execute our plays.
So you didn't start the opening game with Longview, but we know the finish. That was a huge win against the Lobos, who got you a couple of years ago in the playoffs. How did you become a team captain without taking your first snap as a varsity starter? How did that go about?
Well, my teammates.
Yeah.
My teammates we're all very close, and whenever one of us is just down for anything, we all pick each other up, and I think that there could have been a whole bunch of other captains, but I was lucky to be picked as one of them.
When you were told you were a captain, what was your reaction and what were you told?
I was surprised, but at the same time, I was excited.
I bet you were. Temple wins last night, 27-24. Your defense had to come up with a couple of stops. Where were you at the moment? I'm sure watching the game on the 3rd and 4th and 1 that was at near midfield that sealed the game for you.
You said, where was I at?
Yeah, where were you? I mean, you were right there, I'm sure, right as close as you could to be where the yardsticks were or the chains were. Where were you, and can you kind of describe the feeling when you saw the stops on 3rd and 4th and 1?
Well, I tend to just stay as far away as I can to get a better view, because something about some superstitions, and just the farther I'm away, I feel like the better the defense is. And then whenever they got that 4th and 1, everyone just ran onto the field in excitement.
You throw the ball with what seems like a lot of touch. It doesn't. You have zip on it, but it seems to be a very catchable ball. Is there something you learned along the way that allows you to be as effective, efficient, and also as accurate as you are?
My footwork and my just getting on top of the ball and just flicking my wrist down to get as much spiral as I can.
Were you a freshman? Where were you when the Longview hammered Temple? a couple of years ago. What was it last year? Might have been last year. I think it was. I guess you were there. You watched that, right?
I listened to it on the radio.
Okay. Did you, at the time when that happened, because Longview obviously was great, they were on their way to a state championship run, did you ever dream that it might be you a chance to come back in a year or two and have a chance to play against them and lead Temple to a victory?
There's always a thought of positivity that you'll do something, and I never doubted myself. I just stuck to what I thought to do and just go out and compete. And whenever the chance came, I executed. We all executed.
We're talking to Humberto Arizmendi, the quarterback at Temple. Nice win against Shoemaker. Craig, do you have a note here? You want to wait till after the interview?
No, this has nothing to do with Humberto.
Right. Okay.
Humberto, just what's the feeling like amongst the team? I mean, is there an excitement building? Does it feel like you guys are – I know there's some games still left to play, but kind of knowing you're in the postseason, knowing you've won district, what's sort of the buzz right now for this team and your confidence levels?
Killeen High School. We're just worried about Killeen High School.
There you go, right? Focus on what's next, not what's down the road. Just keep on, as they say, stay day to day. What was it like today after the win? What was it like to know? I know last night was excitement, the pictures and all that, the excitement of the exhilaration of winning the game. What has it been like as far as today? Just back to normal or anything different? I know you had class and you had to go to class before you did this interview.
It felt like the whole school was just excited. There's a whole bunch of positivity everywhere.
There should be. It's a nice win. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. This is what Coach Stewart said about you. He told me about the fact you were voted team captain without ever taking a varsity snap, that you work your butt off, everything you do. If you cannot find Humberto, you will probably find him in the quarterback meeting room. Consummate leader, unbelievable human being. When you hear Scott Stewart say that about you, and you've started, 8 games? What does that mean to you?
That I'm gaining his trust, and I know that he believes in me, and that's going to spread throughout the coaches and the players and the town, and it's just exhilarating to feel that way. Well,
you should. Thanks for your time. Congratulations. You ran a lot. You ran for a lot of yards last night. Would you something frisky with your running game?
I guess it was one of those nights.
Did you have to go soak your legs in some ice? Because normally you're throwing it around. You didn't throw the ball as much or as well. So you ran for 130. I know Samari Howard had a huge game as well. So did you have to ice your legs down a little bit, young man?
It was more of just my lungs, honestly.
Don't say that. They're going to make you run gassers today. Yeah. Be careful with that. Man. Hey, I mean this when I say this. When I saw you come in, and I brought that up early against Longview, what I saw from you, the poise, the touch, and how you just started firing away at a team that can intimidate people pretty quickly with their defense was awe-inspiring to me. And you could tell then, okay, this kid has it. And you won the game, you played well, and you guys have been rolling. I know you had one setback to Martin. Good luck the rest of the way, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Humberto Arizmendi, the quarterback at Temple, huge win last night, beat Shoemaker. They clinched the district title, the number 1 seed. And if you are thinking about the number 1 seed in Division 1 or 2, in Division 2, like it's been like the last couple of years, you wanted to try to avoid playing Longview when they were across the way. Division 2, Cedar Hill will most likely be the number 1. Well, they are the number 1 seed. And then Duncanville, DeSoto in Division 1. So Temple takes on Waxahachie. Waxahachie tonight is playing Midway, who's in now that different district they were with Temple and others for so many years. Craig?
Yeah, here's the breaking news. Marlin head coach David Haynes has resigned. So Marlin is now seeking a head football coach and athletic director.
I'll do a little digging on that because he's done a great job with them. They were in the playoffs, of course, and I hate that. But he's done a nice job. Of course, they got a lot of new people, and they've got a bunch of momentum going on. So David Haynes Jr. resigns as head football coach at Marlin High School. Thanks for your time with that. When we come back, we're going to hear from Grayson Grundhafer. How has Baylor and have they been able to kind of find a way to start bouncing back from the loss to Byron Murphy, DeSoto defensive tackle to Texas? This is Sic'em365 Radio. I got to tell you a story about Allen Samuels. There's all sorts of different incentives and discounts and all the employee pricing. All of that. Rams, Jeeps, everything you want. But here's a story about AJ, the sales rep, and others in departments when it comes to customer service. So I got that I got that Ford Explorer back in May. And it was tremendous, a great pre-owned car. It took me forever, nearly 400,000 miles with my Tahoe before I decided it was time to get a new car. And I haven't missed the Tahoe I thought I would, like a long-lost friend. But, so it was time for me to have an oil change. So I went by, and I can't remember what day it was. Maybe it was on Tuesday. So I went by, it was Tuesday, and I went by Alan Samuels, and I had called AJ and said, hey, I'm going to come by and get my oil changed. So I come by there, I get the oil, I turn it in, and then AJ meets me there, has me a car for me to drive the rest of the day until I come back later in the evening to get my car with the oil change. And I'm telling you right now, the experience, I know you say, well, they should do that. That's part of customer service. You buy a vehicle, they take care of you. It was fantastic. And here's the best part. When I got finished, I went to go pick up my car, turned the other one in. AJ had taken care of my oil change. He didn't have to do that. He could have just forgotten about me once I bought the car. He did not have to do that, but he did. Craig was also in the oil, the department for the oil changes. I think Raven was there, and I don't want to miss somebody else's name, but everybody there was fantastic. A smile, customer service, and that's after, 6 months after I bought the car. That's what Alan Samuels brings to the table. I sent a text to Ted Teague, who runs Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, to tell him exactly what my experience was like, and I know that had to make him feel good about his employees taking care of me. Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom-ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi. Great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco. House-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine. Best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of SicEm365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Grayson Grundhafer on Fridays at this time in the 3 o'clock hour. There are 4 stories on the pinned SicEm365 Premium Insider spot. Grayson's recruiting notes. Baylor continues to evaluate 2021 receivers. Of course, they lost a couple of those. Grayson also has Baylor interested in LSU defensive line transfer. The gray area, finding replacements for recent losses on the trail. And then there's another story, week of November the 16th, recruiting thread. And, of course, there's Trust the Podcast. Craig and Grayson is up as well. Craig's got a column up now, Through the Fire. Former Bears provide insight to Baylor's frustrating times. So, Grayson, man, the receivers, that was hard enough. But with this Byron Murphy, there aren't many dudes like that on the defensive line that Baylor's had over the years. Bravion Roy, Andrew Billings. How much did this one hurt?
Yeah, this one hurts a lot, guys. And I think you could kind of compare him a little bit. I know he doesn't play the same position as James Lynch, but I think there's a hope that he was going to come in and kind of make that impact right away, much like a James Lynch did. Remember in 2017, everyone got a glimpse of James Lynch, and then 2018 he really took off, and of course 2019 had that historic season. The thought was Byron Murphy could come in and play a role on this team very early. And as we've seen this year, Baylor has had trouble staying healthy on the interior of the defensive line. And so Murphy would have been a great option to get for that. But I will tell you, I do not think this is over. I think Baylor is going to go after him very, very hard all the way until signing day and hope that they can flip him back from Texas. There's a lot of season left. And as we know, we've heard this for a few years now. Texas is not a place that's okay with not winning Big 12 championships. And so you never know if something happens with Tom Herman. That would obviously change things as well. But I do expect Baylor to continue to pursue the recently ranked 4-star defensive lineman.
How much of this obviously is Baylor struggling, and how much of this was just, this is what happens when you have people commit real early?
Yeah, this is more about Baylor's struggles, to be honest. I think that a lot of teams are starting to, I don't want to say a lot, but I think we've seen with the Hal Presley decommitment and then, of course, Byron Murphy now, teams aren't afraid to use that against Baylor and talk about the struggles that they've had on the field. And when you're 1-5, there's not a lot you can really say to combat that. And I know it's been a tough year, and that's what Baylor's been telling the recruits, they're kind of at a disadvantage compared to the rest of the Big 12, but sometimes that doesn't matter, and players want to see results on the field immediately. And so this is what has happened. But again, I don't think this one is over yet. I do believe Baylor will continue to recruit him and Hal Presley as well.
So, Grayson, as it stands right now, how many scholarships are they working with? And I realize that some of those might be, set to the side for potential grad transfers, once the season wraps up as well.
Yeah, so I'm mainly going to speak to the ballpark of what they're looking at for this class because, guys, I really do think that this is going to be an NCAA-wide thing where there's a lot of attrition at a lot of schools. And, I don't think it's really with the one-time transfer rule, it makes a lot of sense for some guys to go ahead and make that move. And so I think every school has to anticipate that. And right now, I actually think with the 2 losses, I think Baylor's going to end up taking 5 or 6 recruits in this class. And there was a time where when they had Murphy and Presley committed that we thought they would only have 1 spot left for an offensive lineman, but that's expanded a little bit. And I think you've seen that with the offers of Remington Strickland and Jalen Samuels, that they're definitely trying to expand the class a little bit and find some more high priority guys.
You know, it's that Murphy that hurts. You mentioned the LSU defensive lineman, the transfer, and it's going to be like mass chaos maybe this offseason. Is that something? There's a connection, of course, to the staff that's here that was there, and who's the one that recruited him at LSU?
Yeah, so it's Siaki Ika. He's a nose tackle, and guys, this is a crazy number that I'm going to put out there. But when he was a recruit on 247, he was listed as 6'4", 372 pounds coming into LSU. So he's a big nose tackle. He's going to just be a gap control type of guy up front, a guy that's going to allow linebackers to get into the backfield and make plays. But his issue was at LSU when Dave Aranda left, the scheme changed. And he's not a 4-3 guy. He has to play nose tackle, so he needs to be in a 3-4 defense. They changed that when they brought in Bo Pelini. But interestingly enough, the guy who was one of his lead recruiters was Dennis Johnson, who's now the defensive line coach at Baylor. Of course, Dave Aranda played a role in his recruitment as well. So the two of them obviously know him very, very well. Dennis Johnson had a great relationship with him at LSU, recruiting him. And now there's a thought that maybe they can bring him back. But I will tell you that Ika is definitely going to be pulled to go home as well. And his home is in Utah. And Utah's recruiting him very hard. So I expect Baylor and Utah to kind of be in a head-to-head battle there. And it wouldn't surprise me if some more teams kind of lock in and try to recruit him. And I mean, guys, we're talking about a dude that had Florida, Oregon, USC, Alabama, Ohio State, Penn State offers coming out of high school.
I was talking about this with a friend of mine last night in regards to guys like that who opting out or going to transfer or being sent home. This year is going to be so crazy. Do you think, Grayson, if you look at the crystal ball, that there might be some schools that at the end of the day might have like 30 to 34, 5 scholarships available to kind of load up on transfers as well as their incoming class?
Wow, that's a big number, Paul. I mean, I'm thinking about it, and this is the first time I've really thought that deep into it. You know, how many is realistic for the team that loses the most transfers in college football this year? 30 seems like a crazy big number, but I mean, it's a one-time rule. So, I mean, if someone has shown the ability to play and believe they can play at a different school at a higher level, then they may take that route. If a guy's not getting any playing time, they may transfer to a lower-level school and play there. So there's some options out there. And honestly, coaching changes play a role in that as well. So, I mean, 30 is a big number, but this is the year for that to happen, in my opinion.
Grayson, what do you think about the recruiting moratorium being extended? I mean, I know that doesn't come as a surprise, but now looking at all the way until April, I mean, before any chance of players even being able to visit like they normally would.
Yeah, almost a full year now since the dead period has been active, from preventing recruits from visiting campuses, preventing coaches from visiting players. I mean, it's a really tough situation for the 2021 class and a really tough situation for the 2022 class. And it's really tough, but it's what we're in right now. And it's a tough situation. And so, yeah, I mean, we talked about this last week a little bit, the four of us did, about how there's a chance that the dead period could get extended, and therefore it didn't really matter if they got rid of the early signing day. And now we see it get moved, so now it really doesn't matter. I don't know why a player would wait till February unless they just firmly believe that more offers are coming, or if they just simply haven't made a decision, because there's not going to be a whole lot that changes as far as going and visiting schools last minute.
You know, if you look at the coaches who can go and recruit, and right now that basically is you can't do much. You can still try to get people, talk to people, stay in touch with people. But as far as going, for example, if there's a game tonight in Waco you wanted to go watch, I mean, we understand where everything is. Craig just mentioned that. Right now, who are the top, if you wanted to list them in order, and if you don't, just give me the names of 4 of the best recruiters on this staff right now?
Yeah, okay. So I think I'm going to go with it of the approach with what I've seen so far at Baylor, because guys come in with reputations from where they've been, and I think that kind of shifts the narrative a little bit and makes it a little bit harder to decipher. So I'll just go with the guys who I find are talked about the most, especially from recruits. So number one is Juice Johnson. He is the best recruiter on this staff, in my opinion. I think he does a great job finding guys, and he builds great relationships. And he's the running backs coach, of course, at Baylor. So I'd put him at number one, followed closely, in my opinion, by Joey McGuire. Big reason for that is Joey knows the state very well, and Joey, of course, also recruits Oklahoma really well. So that part of his area has been very, very good, of course. He's done a great job in both states, and so I'd put him at number two. At number three, this is one that I think goes back to I'm just kind of going off of what I've seen in the past and what I've heard from recruits, but I'm going to put Dave Aranda at number three. And I think that's a great thing, guys, because I wouldn't have said that about Coach Rule when he was at Baylor, but it seems like every time someone gets an offer, they constantly tell me, I talked to the position coach and I talked to Coach Aranda about getting the offer. And that does not happen at every school. So really cool to see Aranda really taking an ownership in that. And it's really unfortunate we're not going to get to see him be able to go out and close on guys, because I have a feeling this staff has some pretty good closers, and Aranda kind of being at the top of that, just being the head coach. Recruits love to hear from the head coach. And then the last one, this is going to be one that I think surprises some people, but he's just done a really nice job in his area, and that's Matthew Palich. He's the safeties coach at Baylor, and I know that there's a lot of options for this last spot, but Palich has really surprised me. He went out, he got Devin Lemire, which was terrific, a great pickup out of Manor. He's recruiting Jared Kerr really hard, the 4-star out of Lexington. He's done a great job building relationships with the safeties that they brought in the last class at the last minute. So I'll go with him. I think he's done a really nice job, and I think he fits kind of the mold of a guy who can build relationships really well outside just football.
Grayson, how are you feeling about K-State over a week out?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough because, of course, the Texas Tech game, Baylor goes into that game, and I'm sitting there like, all right, if they lose this game, I'm probably going to pick them to lose K-State. But they looked really good for 3/4 of that game, and then it just kind of all fell apart a little bit at the end. I think at home, they're going to get a shot to come out and get a win against a freshman quarterback who really has not looked good in Will Howard at K-State. He's just young, not quite polished yet. So I think Baylor's got a shot, and I honestly believe that. I think it could be a low-scoring slugfest kind of game, but at home against a team who's very comparable to you talent-wise, coming off of a bye week, I just think it sets up pretty well for Baylor to be very competitive in that game and potentially win.
Do you feel like they'll add anybody to the class before the signing day in December?
Oh, absolutely. I expect the majority of their spots to be filled by that December signing day. Maybe they have one more that lasts till February. Maybe they wait on a guy like Byron Murphy if he decides to wait till February. But I bet they add at least 2, maybe 3 more guys before the December signing period.
Okay. Greg, anything else? All right. Thank you, Grayson. Appreciate your time. Grayson Grundhafer, Sic'em365.com. 4 stories right now that he has up in the pin section, and also he and Craig with Trust the Podcast, and, of course, the columns that are written as well. Craig, the one that looked back at what we've heard from Jordan Williams and Blake Blackmar and Patrick Lawrence, even Phil Bennett, others, as far as what suggestions they may have. You finally all came together, huh?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Yeah, I mean, it was nice to have those players' quotes. I just have a really hard time writing, and
you're really good at it. You and Paul. No. I'm being serious. Both of you guys started this. You're good at it.
That's fine. I appreciate that. To each their own. But yeah, it's just something I find it to be really difficult sometimes. And so it took a while to get that article out and get it the way I wanted to even get it to be able to send. But yeah, hopefully, enough people enjoy it. I mean, I put a lot of time into it. Hopefully people enjoy it and enjoy the quotes from the former players.
Here's a couple of responses. Of course, one was, this is a great word. No one on this board understands the weekly grind, mentally, physically, these players face, and it's always eye-opening to hear from those who can relate to what this team is going through. Great to hear their honest thoughts on the current situation and future with Coach Dave Aranda.
Well, the thing is like these former players, they say these things, and I know that there's probably portions of the fans that roll their eyes, and it's hard to keep saying the same things to the fans because I know that it's not necessarily what they want to hear, but the bottom line is for everybody screaming for a quarterback change or a new head coach or a new OC or all these dramatic changes that people want to make that they think are going to fix things overnight. The only thing that's actually going to fix anything is not switching out people and not hiring and firing. It's just working. Like, that's the thing. And, like, nobody wants to hear that, but it's just the truth. And so while writing that article, I'm sitting there thinking, like, people aren't going to want to hear this because it's too simple. It's too simple to say, like, hey, the only thing that'll fix this team is going to work. But everyone, that's all that's going to fix this team is time and work. That's it. You know, like, there's no magical player that's going to walk through the doors on signing day that's going to flip this whole thing on his own. So, you know, that's what those players said. That's what Jordan Williams and Patrick Lawrence and all those guys said, Blake Blackmar. It's just work, build up chemistry, and that's what you have to do, and they haven't been able to do that, and you know, hopefully they find some time here soon, and the time they're getting right now hopefully aids towards that.
But when Matt Rule went through 1-11, you know, it was the same type of feeling, and there weren't really too many former players that were really available to us to talk about Matt Rule and his staff and what they were going through, because a lot of them were very angry about the fact that there was a new coach in the first place. And you had to go back to, like, what, Paul, 2008 or 9 with some of those that were a part of the team that eventually saw them break through and have the bowl team and then the Heisman Trophy team and then back-to-back Big 12 titles a couple of years later. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to sit there and go, yeah, just keep working every day. Yeah. However, it's still new blood that said it this week. And that was one of my goals, and I told you guys that, with Jordan Williams, Blake Blackmar, and also with Patrick Lawrence.
But not all three of those guys. I mean, I would have, you know, you can kind of expect Lawrence and Blackmar to kind of be similar because they're best friends and all that. So sometimes, but both different ways of getting about it. And then Jordan Williams, his was kind of the most interesting because, you know, he's caught too many times. He and Matt Rule both have, like, this was not like, let's get along right away and we're on the same page. So, like, that's an interesting perspective in that there are players on the team right now that are going to be the next Jordan Williams, who right now are probably, you know, I don't want to hear another thing that these coaches have to say. Right. But then when they kind of get some perspective and distance, they'll buy, or, you know, something will happen will make them buy in. And then there's going to be the guys who are like, you know, Terrence Williams, that Baylor, the running back Terrence Williams, that no matter what happened, he needed a new place to play. And that's happening. What is happening at Baylor this year, and people get myopic because you only care about your school. But what is happening at Baylor this year is happening everywhere. I mean, everywhere where there's a new coach, or everywhere that the coach is about to get fired. You know, the places that are consistent are the ones who didn't have to change.
Well, here's from Diane. Blake's quote says it all. People are just so used to complaining and finding something to be angry about right now. And that's true. And that's just not football or Baylor football. It's basically with everything.
Well, I mean, it's hard to, like, I know we got to go, but, you know, it's hard too when just last year you finally got back to the quote-unquote mountaintop. It's not the mountaintop, but it was way better terrain than what they were in the previous couple years.
You almost had your climbing stick stamped. Right.
You're back, and then now you fall right off the side of the mountain again. Like, as soon as you got to the peak, before you could even take a picture, you slipped off the other side, and that's what it kind of feels like. And so I understand why there's frustration, but you know, for as much as we've talked about the circumstances and everything, yes, everybody else is facing it, but Baylor's is extraordinarily unique, and there's no denying that. There's no argument that can be made against the fact that theirs is more unique because of the fact they have a first-year head coach, because they've had so many games canceled or interrupted or whatever. Like in that article I pointed out, they played no non-conference. So for like a month, it was just, you know, they knew ahead of time, but, you know, the non-conference gets canceled, where you can maybe make up some games. And then it was like twisting in the wind of whether or not they were going to get to play Houston or whoever else. And so there was all that. Then you play a couple games. Then you have like 3 weeks off. Then you played 3 straight games. Now you got 2 weeks off. You know, like that's just so disjointed, and the whole year's been so disjointed. It's just kind of unfair to put normal expectations, I think, on this team.
It's a different year, no question. 2020 can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. Here's from TJ. The people that want a quarterback change or head coaching change are delusional. They bandwagon fans that only latched onto the good era. I'm not even a Baylor fan, but I remember my dad taking me to games in the 80s and 90s, so I love when they do well. People seriously just have to let it play out. This will work. Just need patience. People are not patient. TJ, we love you, man. We appreciate Diane. Daniel, by the way, also sent me a text on the football story about Sherman and McKinney. He went to a college game at McMurray, and they had the transformer issues at Shotwell Stadium, and they had to move the game to McMurray because Hardin-Simmons didn't have the lights and ACU didn't have a campus field. When we come back, the 4 o'clock hour, including Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, also Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com, Rikers, Tyler Holcomb. We have their game 6:30 pregame here, and also 106.7 FM. This is Sic'Em365 Radio. So if you have a bump, a bruise, or something that's, it's not something that keeps you up at night. It's not something that makes you perhaps limp more than normal. And there's even something that could be a bump or bruise that allows you to have to limp a little bit. I've had something in my foot on occasion that has bothered me, not too bad. And then there's been plantar fasciitis. You just kind of grind through it. But it was never, although there was a few times I went, man, I'd love to know what's going on in there. You just keep going. And then there's things that shut you down, that flat out shut your body down. Something that's broken shuts it down immediately. You better get that looked at. Something that's torn, it might be torn and you try to work through it. It may be something. If it's an ACL, you're an athlete, they'll know pretty quickly. An MCL, PCL, rotator cuff, if you're a football or baseball, basketball, whatever, you're going to have to get something done quickly. If you have something that's serious, ligament, muscle, or bone that's broken, torn, or shredded, or just hurts like hell, Ideal MRI can help you out. IdealMRI.com. They have an MRI machine, state-of-the-art technology. It is the dude now. It is a monster, and it is as good as it gets, and it's available to you, and the access is fantastic at Ideal MRI in the Central Texas Marketplace in Waco, right there off of I-35 and Loop 340. Dr. Rob Maxey set me up for an appointment back in late March. I had a lot going on in late March. We were trying to get this show put together. Things changed. And I was like, man, the last thing I have time to do is an MRI. But Rob Maxey, Dr. Maxey said, no, we need to get you set up. And he said, we want you to experience what we do. And I'd been through some MRIs. And I tell you what, it was phenomenal. Flawless, low maintenance. The staff was great. I drove to the Central Texas Marketplace that morning. I got the MRI. I checked in. It was no wait at all. Doesn't mean on occasion there's not going to be somebody else there. And then the Texas specialist explained everything to me. I'd been through some MRIs, but this was different. What they do is different. It's fantastic. And again, the equipment gives you every bit of what look you need at whatever might be bad. And my shoulder was not good. And they knew that, and I knew it, and then we confirmed it. Dr. Rob Maxey gave me an overlook of what he saw on the MRI. I sent it to Dr. David Haynes. He had done my shoulder 5 years ago. And you know what? It was so easy and simple. So if you have something, you've been told you need an MRI, for $497 or less, an average is $1,000, $1,100. An average MRI is $1,100. Ideal MRI, $497 or less. IdealMRI.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership, Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird, Culchin Ford.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas, familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricusa.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Another college football game has been evaporated. Washington State, Stanford has been canceled. There was a note put up by Washington State. That game now has been canceled. 5 Pac-12 games have been canceled, less than halfway through the schedule. 12% canceled below the national average, which is like 16%, I think, or 15%. And this, of course, is just week number 3. Yeah, week number 3 in the Pac-12. So every week they've had a game canceled. Of course, Kansas and Texas canceled this weekend. The other games this weekend both have impact on who might play in the Big 12 championship game. Oklahoma hosts Oklahoma State. That's a 6:30 start tomorrow night. Kansas State at Iowa State at 3 o'clock. Did either of you guys see the story that Kansas State was to a point where they were playing tight ends? They were having to scramble to even have like scout team, that they had so many guys that were not able to practice. So I'm not sure how many they'll have suited up for the game with Iowa State.
Yeah, it's just it's part of the deal, man. It's exhausting just every day reading the new testing numbers and the new cancellations and the new everything. And it's like, you'd think we'd be almost used to it by this point, but I'm not. Like, I'm definitely, maybe I was there for a little while, but I'm like now back out of the point of being like just normal with everything. Like, it's every day. It's just something else. So, a lot of people have had to do things they wouldn't typically do. That includes football teams. And, again, it's part of the article I wrote because of what the players were saying. But, Lawrence and Blackmar pointed out that, no spring ball, but also fall practices where your lineup's different because this guy's got COVID or this guy's quarantined or this guy's doing this. And you're basically back to not quite where you were when Matt Rule first arrived, but you don't have everybody available, and you're constantly having new lineups every single week. And that's not just the offensive line. That's the linebackers. That's the secondaries been hit with that. The D-line's been hit with that. Everybody pretty much, like the only mainstay has been Charlie Brewer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, think about it. The only mainstay on this entire freaking football team this entire year is Charlie Brewer. The one guy everybody wants to get rid of, It's like, but the running backs have been hit or miss as far as availability or even play. The wide receivers, I don't think have been hit as much, but then again, Tyquan Thornton hadn't played in like a month. So, he's been out. But yeah, I mean, Ben Sims at tight end's been out for 3 straight games or 2 straight games, whatever it is. The offensive line, like I said, so every single unit on this team has been affected in some form or fashion and been interrupted, and it's not going to translate into great football.
I mentioned some of the stuff on the premium section, whether it's pinned or not. Some, of course, gets unpinned. Could be interviews we've had on this show or certain columns, the one that Ashley and Jason King do, which is that, the 68-team field or the 68 field. Brian had this earlier in the week, damage to the depth chart, which is kind of what Craig was also mentioning. If you could find it, he wrote it on November the 17th. It is amazing to see who's playing now and who was supposed to be playing now. You mentioned Lovett Ebner is Quaylen Jones. Thornton, Yusuf Terry. Snead and Gavin Holmes and Charlie Brewer remain the same. Tight end Sims, it's now Dabney. Galvin remains tackle. Keith left guard, now Xavier. Center was Xavier, now Jason Moore. Guard was Bettier, now it's Burton, and Burton, now it's Bettier at tackle. TJ Franklin remains the same. Defensive tackle, nose tackle, Josh Landry, now it's Ryan Miller. Cole Maxwell started at defensive end, now it's William Bradley King. Petrie remains the same. Bernard started, now it's Abram Smith, and then everyone else remains the same on defense. Doyle, Tejada, Woods, Christian Morgan, Kalen Barnes, and even some of them have had to miss time because of suspensions or something else.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of turnover. It's like half the depth chart's different than when it started, and I mean some of that's natural because some guys weren't available maybe right away. But yeah, it's been a lot to deal with. No excuses or anything like that, but it's just the reality of the situation. And so you got 3 games to play. You got 3 opportunities to go get a win. So work this week and go try to get a win.
When we come back, Director of Athletics at Baylor, Mack Rhoades. This is SicEm365 Radio. A bunch of doctors in Central Texas got tired of seeing some of their patients that they just saw anyway fail at losing weight because they've tried it all, including the do-it-yourself diets, which often result in you might lose weight, but you're losing weight from muscle breakdown and muscle loss, and that's not good. They looked for a different approach, and they opened up Muscle-Wise Nutrition, coach-managed diet program to lose substantial weight, targeting fat while sparing muscle. Dieters are seen weekly by a coach who performs detailed body composition analysis, and they can also do that. If you're a little bit worried about contact, they'll figure that out for you. You can email them at Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com, Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com. And one of the coaches will contact you and promptly set you up for some educational seminar to try to understand what they're trying to do. You have to understand what you want. If you want to lose weight and you've tried everything, you've tried pills, you've tried injections, you've tried it all, well, why not try this? Muscle-Wise Nutrition. Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
By the way, in 45 minutes, Baylor Volleyball, the third-ranked team in the country, will host Kansas State back-to-back days. Tonight, 5 o'clock at the Farrell Center. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the Farrell Center. No football game. Basketball about to start. Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, with us. We had to wait 3 or 4 days. His agent had called me, said that he was concerned about the amount of time and questions that we were asking him each week, and kind of took a little while to get through that. I thought you were your own agent. I wish you would have just called me and told me you were fed up with us, and we were fine.
I have no agent, so I am represented by no one.
No human being on the earth is representing you. We've seen teams, we've seen games are going to get postponed. Texas and Kansas, among others. Pac-12, just to mention it. Washington State and Stanford. And Mack, it kind of goes back to a lot of what happened with you in West Virginia, that I think people are learning, but it may be too late to do much with it. But it's the road trips, it's the locker rooms, and much more. Seeing more and more of that. Is that something that was discussed much at all before the season began?
Yeah, I mean, I think we went into the season with our eyes wide open, right? And that we knew that there were going to be some cancellations. That's why we tried to be as strategic as you could be with some open dates, collapsible games, etc. It probably, as you got into the season, right, and you were following all of the protocols and doing due diligence and student athletes doing what they were supposed to be doing. I think that, there was this sense, maybe this false sense of security. And then all of a sudden it just takes one little incident, right? As you know, and has happened to us, that, then you have an outbreak, and now all of a sudden cancellations. And so it's part of it. I was talking to somebody today, and I used, the phrase herky jerky. It's felt like that this entire season, right? And at least for us, just not any ability to gain any momentum at all. And so, everybody's dealing with it. Everybody's facing it. And, I think the good news, when we get, to the end of the season, I think we'll all look back and say, hey, I'm glad we played it. And we're able to get through it. And, there's no doubt in my mind that we'll finish it.
Mack, with this latest spike, which I think even given the numbers seems like a bit of a low word for what's going on with the infection rate in the country, how have you guys started to maybe plan things differently when it comes to attendance or the way that you'll do things as far as, the winter sports and everything that's coming up down the line here in the next couple of months?
Yeah, it's, interesting, just as you mentioned, just, the numbers throughout the country and how that's going to impact anything. We've been working, all of us within the Big 12, our doctors, our health and wellness folks, everybody, right, been working to, how do we best move forward with basketball seasons and, thinking about also that it's indoors rather than outdoors. And, nothing's been impacted yet in terms of a decrease in fan capacity. We're still at the 25%. We're really, focused in on this idea of this team bubble, this travel party of 30 that, so to speak, will stay in this bubble and, in the Farrell Center and at visiting Big 12 venues, right? There'll be, isolated, team bench area, chairs 3 to 6 feet apart, fans 20 feet buffer, right? So, working through all of those things and, basketball, it's there's going to be some challenge when you think about 2 games a week and, not a lot of days between, right? Different than football where you're playing once every 7th day, and basketball, you worry about losing some games in clusters, and there's going to be some start and stops with basketball. So, but we'll get through it, and I'm thankful that the NCAA, the men's basketball committee, starting to think proactively, and I think that's probably best that just the idea of trying to reduce travel and have it in one general location, I think is probably wise. Certainly will have its challenges, but I think it's wise. So, where I worry the most right now, Paul and Smoke and Craig, is I worry about, travel restrictions being placed, potentially different states, right? Or, hey, because you're in the state of Texas, you can't, come into our state, right? Or they just, different areas, localities shut down travel. That's, to me, that's what I worry about most when I think about, the winter sports and maybe even the spring sports.
So, Mack, we know that everybody's eligible for a bowl game, although, how bowl games are going to work with, like you said, potential travel restrictions and things like that. I mean, who the heck knows? But, in the position that Baylor's in right now, obviously it would be highly beneficial for this team to just get more work and to have, for example, a set of bowl practices. Because it's such a weird year, has there been any discussion about, because it's the free-for-all for the bowl games, about everybody having a couple of weeks of winter practice in December after the season wraps up, regardless if they're going to a bowl game or not? Or is that just something that, hasn't even been broached at all?
No, it's a great question. There's been conversation of it. Right now we landed with everybody's going to get to practice up through December 19th, the championship game, right? And then bowl selection Sunday, on the 20th. Then those going to a bowl game would be allowed to practice after that. So, if your last game, of the year is like for us, right now it's scheduled to be December 12th, then, if we wanted to, we certainly could practice, that week, teams that might finish on the 5th, right? Some of the Big 12 teams that might finish on the 5th, then they certainly, have an opportunity to practice for 2 weeks. So that's where we've landed, to date. And we're still, working with bowl partners. And, I think most of them, not all of them, are in a good place. And there'll be a bowl game. They'll be much different. Craig, you alluded to that. It's going to be more like or feel more like a regular road game. It's going to be, something, like 2 nights of hotel and probably, very limited activity or event, if any at all. And it's really going to be, about the game itself. So they'll be much different this year. But again, the opportunity to be able to play an extra game is I think, terrific for those teams that can do that.
Is that something, and I know because of the record that, that might not be a possibility for you guys necessarily, but is that something that you and Dave Aranda discussed at all about? If you did have the opportunity, would that be something y'all would want to do?
Yeah, I think so. I think, again, the benefit to it is the extra days of practice.
Right.
The way, we've got 7 bowl partners, the Big 12 does, and obviously anybody that's 500 and above will have first rights to play in a bowl game, and so we'll see what that looks like, and then what's remaining, and for us, we've got the 3 more games, and Kansas State a week from tomorrow, and that's 3 more opportunities for us to get better, and I think we will, and I continue to say this, that I'm just grateful and feel blessed that Coach Aranda is our coach. We're going to win a lot of games under his leadership, doing all of the right things, and this has been a perfect storm. It's been a struggle. None of us like it. I hate it. It's not fun to lose, but I think we're poised and we've got a great foundation, and we'll be in good shape.
If you were to finish 2-7, 1-8, and the bowl offered you to play in the game, would you do it?
It's hard to answer because I think there's a couple considerations, right? I think there's the coaching consideration and the extra days of practice, and I think there's great value there. But I think more important is, do the kids want to play, right? Yeah. And do our student athletes want to play, or are they just so fatigued and burned out with all of the protocol, et cetera? And so, I would tell you this: if our student athletes wanted to play and wanted another opportunity to go out there and try to get better, and Coach Aranda felt good about it, then absolutely. Why waste an opportunity to try to get better? But it will really fall on how do our kids feel about it, and that's, to me, that's most primary, because they've just been through a lot. So,
did Chris Pesman call you this week just to say hi and, hey, by the way, we're not going to be able to play our game?
No, he has not.
Trolling? Why are you trolling?
Just checking. Just checking. I am. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. That was terrible of me. When
Mack, we don't always condone Smokey's behavior. I just want you to know that.
All right. So it is tough. And you've mentioned Dave Aranda, and we get a chance to visit with him. And this week it was just the Monday teleconference and no other access. And I'm sure they needed to get back to doing things, and that's fine. How is he? Because he's kind of told us about the team. We asked him about the team, the players, the staff, and whatever. How is he right now?
Yeah, I think he's good. Well, what does that mean, right? I certainly don't think he's happy with 1-5. I think he's disappointed. I don't think he believes we should be 1-5. We've had some tough breaks, right? But I think he's got great resolve. he certainly is not panicked. He's got a plan. He's got a vision. He's got a process. He's going to stick to that. He sees big picture, right? So I think he's in a really, really good place. And I think he's confident about what he's doing and the way he's leading the program. And again, at the same time, has got great humility and trying to always learn and be better, become better. But I think he's in a good place. And I think he's doing all of the right things in terms of leadership for the staff, for our student athletes. I think he's confident in terms of where our program's going to head.
Mack, how positive, and I know there's still, kind of a couple of hills to get over, but how positive has it been to see the progress of D.D. Richards the last few days?
Man.
Yeah, it's almost in the category of miracle. And I mean that, and I understand the statement, but man, it has been incredible to see the way she has responded and the way she's come back, the progress she's made. I think I said it on this show, right? If there's any one person in our entire athletic department that was going to recover and play, same season, right? After that type of injury, it would be Dee Dee. And again, she just continues to work hard and is focused, and it's been amazing and excited to see them tip off here on the 25th and play 2 there Wednesday and Friday, and looking forward to seeing the women's team play.
Yeah, we had her mother on yesterday, and she was Anjane was fantastic, and obviously thrilled as a parent getting that phone call. She was on an airplane or had just flown somewhere. And it was amazing to see that the progress. And she basically has willed her way, as she mentioned, partly. She used the word miracle, too. Mack, thank you, man. Appreciate your time. We do appreciate you coming on with us this week, and we'll talk to you Tuesday.
All right. We'll talk to you next week. You guys have a great weekend.
You too.
Stay out of trouble.
Yeah,
bye-bye.
Yes, sir. That's interesting because we ask Mack sometimes how he's doing, and there's Dave Aranda, and I know some fans don't care, but he said plan, a vision, confident, and you just keep doing what you do. You have to. You don't start listening too much. You do rely on people. You rely on other people. You lean on other people, but you do what you have to do. By the way, I mentioned that University of Pittsburgh football story about them wearing face coverings. They've come back to clarify their statement, which now makes so much more sense. Athletes will be outfitted with face coverings throughout the game. However, they will not be required to have the coverings pulled up while in the midst of play to prevent the impairment of breathing. Such uses of face coverings during competition would be in compliance with Section 3, So
that was all a lot for nothing, basically.
I think what happened is they put out the release, and then, you can, oh, my God. And I responded to it because I can't imagine playing a football game, much less walking too far with a mask on me as well. So with a mask as far as what you see around.
What happens when it falls down when you're running or,
Yeah, they just never made much.
Yeah,
they never made much sense. I just said, hey, if that's what they got to do, that's what they got to do. But good to see that that's not exactly what it appeared to be.
All right, in the next segment after this one, we'll hear from Tyler Holcomb of Riker, football coach. We have a 6:30 pregame tonight. They play Fort Worth Calvary Christian. Phil Bennett, Blake Blackmar, and also college football focus on South Carolina with Paul in the 5 o'clock hour, joined by Lee Sterling. Appreciate your patience, Lee. All right, here we go. Man, who would have thought Ohio State and Indiana would be such a game of interest, and here we are on November 20th.
Yeah, I think everyone's shocked that Indiana's undefeated. But here's what's interesting. If you look at stats, Indiana isn't great on offense. I mean, you remember all their great plays, but they only rank 89th in total offense. So they're going to have to face an Ohio State team that has beaten them by 21-23, and last year 51-10. They beat them by 41 points. So what did Ohio State do when the game was canceled last week against Maryland? Well, most teams, they take the weekend off. Coach tells them don't get in trouble, or let's meet in the weight room, let's lift some weights. No, they went 11 on 11, had a scrimmage for 2.5 hours here. Ohio State, blowout city. Sometimes you got to lay it if you want to play it. Ohio State 52-21 over Indiana.
All right, Lee, Iowa State and Kansas State. Iowa State's an 11-point favorite.
So we know that Kansas State has some COVID cases, and some kids may or may not play, but they've been there before. I mean, look what happened. They went to Oklahoma. These two teams, when they played, how about this, 11 of the last 12 games, 10 points have separated them in 11 of the 12 games. 9 of the games by 7 points or less. This is a perfect setup for Kansas State. They're facing a ranked opponent coming in with a 2-game losing streak. Their special teams are incredible, better than anyone in the country. Ohio State has the great athletes. Kansas State, they're known for special teams. Iowa State escapes 26-23, but Kansas State covers.
Lee, a winner of Bedlam will likely get into the Big 12 championship game. This is a series that historically Oklahoma has dominated, but two pretty close teams, Sooners 7-point favorites.
Yeah, so I think Oklahoma's starting to put it together. I mean, 62 points scored in each of the last 2 games. Their defense seems to be tightening up, and the game's slowing down for Spencer Rattler. I think he's going to be a Heisman contender the next 2 years, and been watching this Oklahoma State team. Defense impresses me. The offense, they've got some problems. I mean, they've got some talent there, but Chuba Hubbard, he has been dinged up most of the season. Quarterback Spencer Sanders came back after the high ankle sprain. I don't know if he's 100% yet. And 2 biggest problems. I thought their offensive line was weak coming into the season. Then they lost another starter. And then on top of that, Mike Gundy not calling plays anymore. He handed it off to Casey Dunn, wide receiver coach who's been there since 2011. I think the play calling's been brutal. I like Oklahoma, 42-28.
All right, Lee, we go to the NFL now in a game in which Kansas City was beaten at home, I believe, when they played. Was it at home? Was that game? It was at home. It was at Kansas City, yeah. And they got Mahomes a couple of times, I think, on a pick six near the end, and they play the Raiders in Vegas.
Yeah, so in that first game, I think Vegas just caught them by surprise. I mean, they had a couple deep routes they hit on, and Kansas City had not seen them, and the game was over pretty much by halftime. So now all of a sudden you got Busgate. John Gruden said the bus driver wants to drive around the stadium, around Arrowhead in celebration. Trust me, that has John Gruden written all over it. They'll be ready for this game. I just think Travis Kelce, he's talking about it. They're psyched up. Hill, Edwards-Helaire. I just don't know if Vegas has anyone that can cover these 3 guys, because Mahomes, he's going to have a clear pocket. I mean, Raiders only have 11 sacks on the season, so Kansas City's defense is getting better. They've given up 17 or fewer points in 3 of the last 4 games. I love their safeties, Honey Badger, Juan Thornhill, and also Daniel Sorensen. Kansas City, they exact that revenge. Remember, Andy Reid has never lost since he's gotten to Kansas City, twice in one season to a division opponent. Chiefs, 43-23.
All right, Lee, Indianapolis and Green Bay. This is a 2-point game here for Indianapolis, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, it is. And I think people thought that Green Bay was going to open up the favorite, which they did. But the reason that Indianapolis has become the favorite now is people realize Packers, they've got a weakness. If you remember last year, what did they have trouble with? Teams that just pounded the football. Remember San Francisco? They didn't even need to pass in that game in the playoffs. Tampa Bay, another good defense. What do? They're the only team that slowed down Green Bay here. They held them to 10 points. So Green Bay played a bunch of just powder cake, absolutely, defenses in the Falcons, the Texans, 49ers when they were depleted, and the Jaguars. I love Indianapolis's defense with Darius Leonard. Also, DeForest Buckner has really upgraded the defensive front. And everyone talks about sacks and, how many yards do you allow? Most important thing is how do you do on third downs? And Indianapolis, they get off the field and get their offense the football. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Devontae Adams may be the best 3 players in the game, but Indianapolis might have the next best 7 or 8 players. Indianapolis at home, 34-28.
All right, Lee, game of the week is kind of a combination for you with football, and also there's a UFC this weekend.
Yeah, so this is what I'm doing. It's Customer Appreciation Week. I appreciate everyone who listens in each week. My way of saying thank you. We go over the games everyone wants to hear about. If you'd like to get 3 selections of mine, and I know, people, hey, they'd like to come on board and maybe get the best that I've got, but don't have the scratch, or they want to see a little bit more. How about this? I'm going to give them their choice, either 3 football selections or 3 USC selections. And I know if I go 2-1 or 3-0, they're going to want to join me down the road for the rest of the season. So how about this? All you need to do, call 800-400-9741. Give me your email address. We'll send you out 3 free football games or 3 UFC selections for UFC 255 tomorrow night. So my way of saying thank you. So just call that number, 800-400-9741. Give us your email or check out the website, ParamountSports.com.
Lay it if you want to play it. From Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate your time. Have a great weekend and good luck.
You too, guys. Take care.
Lee Sterling with us on Fridays in the 4 o'clock hour, 800-400-9741. 800-400-9741. All right, Paul, we got Rikers, Tyler Holcomb coming up. 5 o'clock hour, a couple of interviews from earlier this week that were the most, I guess, watched or listened to. Phil Bennett, Monday. Blake Blackmar was on Wednesday. Is that right? And then also your focus in on South Carolina, the Gamecocks.
Just want to ask you, because I was surprised at 2 of the candidates that Ben mentioned. I asked the writer I had from the state that he mentioned on the interview. Who would you say are the top 3 candidates right now for the South Carolina job?
Napier.
Yes.
Well, Lafayette guy. That's
Napier.
Yeah.
Venables is not going to leave Clemson for that job.
It's not Venables. It's not Fickle, and it's not
Fedora.
Tony Elliott. It's not Fedora.
I'm just curious.
It's not Fedora. It is Shane Beamer, who has never even been a coordinator, but people
special teams coordinator.
Yeah, but he's the tight ends coach at Virginia Tech right now, but people feel he's got kind of a Dabo Swinney like CEO quality about him, where he can bring in, good assist. Like his dad wasn't, his dad was the Dabo Swinney, Bobby Bowden type, where you bring in good assistants. Like he had Bud Foster forever, and you were the CEO. Like Dabo Swinney right now has Tony Elliott and Brent Venables. He's got 2 of the best coordinators in the country, and he runs he's over everything else. And so it was him, and then the other one is the name escapes me, the coach at Coastal Carolina.
Okay, yeah, they're a hot team. They're a team that's had a good run.
Well, Beamer would mean plucking him away from OU. So, he's been there now for the last few years and really has blossomed under Lincoln Riley, assistant head coach, and has done pretty well there in Norman. So he seems like he's about ripe to maybe make that. I don't know about Virginia Tech, but obviously that last name in that history there, going from, like you said, not being a position or a coordinator to making that jump. That would be interesting, but he has done some good things at OU, and those others are intriguing names as well.
All right, thank you. Very interesting. I did not. I mean, that's Napier's a name. His name was a name that kind of some fans threw out when it came to Baylor as well. Let's see. Oh, this is a thought of the weekend. If you want to do, we'll try to get this to Monday. Of course, a lot of things happen between now and Monday. A&M, Missouri, Colorado, Nebraska all left the Big 12. A&M is just now, they had the Johnny Manziel year, of course, but they're just now showing strength to compete, and the SEC West is not as deep as it has been.
No.
But they are one of the reasons, because they're playing at a higher level. Nebraska's done nothing. They were in the 2 Big Ten championship games and gave up like 50 and 70 points. Missouri has won the East twice.
But they did that like immediately.
And yes, exactly. Maybe even the first year. And then Colorado's done nothing.
Yeah, and when Missouri went, all the teams, the Florida, Georgia, everybody in the East was Tennessee all down.
So if you have 4 programs and a do-over, how many of those 4 would have stayed? And I think every one of them would still say they would leave.
I think Missouri would leave because of the SEC. Nebraska would leave because of Big Ten prestige and money. And yeah, it comes down to more prestige and money
A&M
than
as
anything.
well.
And A&M, they wanted to finally split with Texas, and I don't blame them. And they made a move that I think's worked out better. What were they doing in the Big 12? They won one Big 12 title.
The same thing.
They're doing the exact same thing. They're actually better now than they were in the Big 12. So, I think that...
And making more money.
And making way more money. And they're not having to sit there and listen to DeLoss Dodds make final decisions on everything behind the scenes, So I think... every single one of them, even Colorado, at least geographically, they're closer to the teams they play.
I think like-minded with them in the conference.
Very much
right?
like-minded.
Yeah,
very liberal
very
politically, the universities out there are very liberal, so they fit in well with that.
I think, in this question, some people equate winning conference titles.
How do you do that?
But they equated that's the most important things to the school. It's not it is to the fan base, but to the actual administration, it's money.
Yeah, no, it would be. You're right. And by the way, again, the Big 12 again this weekend, 2 games. Kansas State at Iowa State, that's a 3 o'clock start in Ames. Oklahoma State at Oklahoma, Bedlam at 6:30 tomorrow night. That's on ABC. The Iowa State K-State game is on Fox. Indiana, Ohio State, of course, is one of the nice games. There's a couple of others as well.
I'm taking Iowa State and Oklahoma to win tomorrow. That's who I'm rolling with.
Agreed.
That means Iowa State would be 6-1, Oklahoma 5-2, Oklahoma State and Texas 4-2, Kansas State 4-3. And so you still have those 2 games. What's going to happen if they get down to that last weekend and Texas plays Kansas and they don't have to play the game?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, we have COVID. They don't want a piece of Kansas. They're not going to let Kansas interrupt them, right, Armstrong? You of the burnt orange ilk. That's everyone's so what? I thought it was. Again, that's why I don't do what you do. That's not stand-up comedy. All right.
We've got 2 interviews to play. We've got 15 minutes.
All right, we got 3 at the 5 o'clock hour. We have Tyler Holcomb of Riker. We will have our pregame show. Remember, Riker and Fort Worth Calvary Christian. That game at 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kick. We'll be there for that. The Cougars against Calvary, against the Conquerors. One of the unique names. All right, we'll be back in a moment. Riker head coach Tyler Holcomb on their playoff game. This is Sic'em365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine. It's the weekend if you're, going to socialize with your friends or your family, or you're getting ready for Thanksgiving and to have maybe even a limited gathering, and you want to get some spirits. Well, Riverbend Liquor and Wine is the place that you need to go. Convenient drive-through window, great craft beer selection, great selection of spirits, and look, holidays are coming up. Guess what? They have partnered with Balcones and the Waco Whiskey Club. They're going to have their own private stock barrel of Balcones Christmas special available at Christmas time. It is a 5-year aged single malt that they've picked out especially for them. The only place you're going to be able to get it, Riverbend Liquor and Wine. So make your plans now. And maybe if you want to get a gift for your favorite radio personality, you can get some of that for me. So, or for anyone. That's a great thing to do because it's just there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco, a hidden gem. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
A group of over 30 physicians in Central Texas became frustrated seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves. They opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. We've seen too many patients suffer from complications of obesity. Patients who have tried countless do-it-yourself diets, which often results in 25% of the weight they lose coming from muscle breakdown and muscle loss. We needed another approach, so we opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. This is a coach-managed diet program to lose substantial weight, targeting fat while sparing muscle. Dieters are seen weekly by a coach who performs detailed body composition analysis. Please email us at Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com, and one of our coaches will contact you promptly to get you set up for our free educational seminars. Lose weight by losing fat and sparing muscle. Start Muscle-Wise today. Contact us at Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hi, this is Tyler Holcomb, Athletic Director and Head Football Coach at Bishop Lewis Riker, and you're listening to Sic'em365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Riker Catholic Cougars football coach Tyler Holcomb is sponsored by Riker Athletic Booster Club, Boozer's Jewelers, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
So let's talk about last week first. With you finally get a couple weeks of practice. You play Shelton. You win huge, 45-11. I know when we talked earlier in the season, you felt like this team had some potential, but then the rhythm got all thrown off. Are you seeing that rhythm coming back now?
Well, I thought, like you said, last week we got to practice. We had a full week of practice last week, and I really thought it was the best focus that we've had at practice all season long. And I think a lot of that comes from, things get taken from you, and you start to really appreciate what you had. I think that's where our kids are at right now. Some games have gotten taken from them this year. They get to practice, they get to play football, and so the focus is there, and they're really hungry right now. They played a great game Friday night, and a big win for us to get some confidence going into the playoffs.
Well, when you have playmakers like you do in Jake Boozer and Cummings, you've had these guys that can hunt when they're given an opportunity. Have you seen them kind of get back into their their playmaking, like they're locked in, they can kind of see the plays before it happens now?
Those guys are always locked in. Those are 2 dogs, man. They get after it. And when the lights come on, those 2 guys come to play. And that was no different Friday night. I mean, Jake Boozer obviously is the leader of our offense and is the one that makes us go. And then you've got to account for Eli Cummings. He's everybody's game plan. So we know those 2 guys are going to be the focal points, but they just continue to find ways to get it done.
When you have guys like that, especially, I know the last couple of years you've been trying to bring along some kids that aren't as necessarily experienced. How much does that help in that, like, bringing them to the next level when they can watch guys who are always locked in and always ready to go and always prepared?
Well, I think it's good. It's leading by example. And our senior class, we've got 10 seniors on this football team, and they take that leadership role very seriously. We have some freshman guys that are younger, and yesterday at practice we had a freshman quarterback in, and it was encouraging to hear, our senior receivers encouraging him and giving him some words of encouragement. If there was a bad ball or whatever, everything was positive. And so those guys really take that leadership role seriously. And it's encouraging at this point in the season for them to be showing those guys the ropes and how to do it for future years.
All right, let's look at this week. And look, your opponent, and because everybody made the playoffs, Calvary Christian has not won a game this year. But it's a playoff game you're playing, and we've talked about it for weeks. You guys need the work, don't you?
Well, just because they haven't won a game, I think everybody's seen the movie Miracle. That's not something that we take lightly. They're a playoff team, and they're a playoff opponent, so we're going to show up and we're going to treat them as such. And there's not going to be any sympathy on our end because they haven't won a game, just like they're not going to show us any sympathy because they haven't won a game. So we're going to go out there and we're going to play hard. They're going to play hard, and hopefully it's a good football game Friday night.
When it was announced that every team in TAPS was going to make the playoffs, I know there was probably some kind of backlash of like, oh my gosh, this is how it is. But given this year and how nobody's really been able to show who they are because of how disjointed it's been, this was really kind of the only path forward, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I haven't really thought of it that way. I'm not one that gets caught up in the politics of those types of decisions. That's the decision that TAPS made. So I stand behind it, and we're going to just show up and play and control the things that we can control.
Now get employee pricing for all on new Jeeps from Allen Samuels. Just in time for the holidays, Grand Cherokee Limited has 0% for 84 months and no payments for 90 days. Or pick a cool Jeep Compass or the rugged Jeep Renegade Subcompact. Take your pick because both feature employee pricing for all. 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. It's the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels, your friend in the car business.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
3rd down and 5. Ball's on the 8-yard line. Line to gain is the 3. Brewer. Nobody home. Calls his own number. Brewer! Touchdown!
This segment with former Baylor defensive coordinator Phil Bennett is sponsored by the Nitchie Group Insurance Company, where clients are more than just a policy number. See why thousands of Texans trust the Nitchie Group with their home, auto, benefits, and commercial insurance coverage. Call their Waco office to speak with an expert at 254-420-3900 or visit them online at tngins.com. Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Welcome back to the 5 o'clock hour on this Friday. SicEm365 Radio, Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, David Smoke. Armstrong Sims runs the mothership. It is, well, the Big 12 with a pretty important weekend. 2 games. Kansas and Texas have been, well, that's been pushed back because of COVID. But then you have Oklahoma at home against Oklahoma State, and Kansas State plays at Iowa State. All 4 teams heavily involved in the Big 12 title race to get to the championship. Baylor, no, not so much. They've had the off week after the loss to Texas Tech in Lubbock on Saturday, and many things that continue to break down. Getting better here, but this issue, and then getting better with that issue, and then something else fails. Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator, with us on SicEm365 Radio. Baylor drops to 1-5. They have the off week, and then Kansas State next. We're now joined by former Baylor defensive coordinator, longtime coach Phil Bennett, with us on SicEm365 Radio. Do you have a sunburn? Are you still in Hawaii, or are you back?
You know what? I took the red eye back Saturday night, but I do have a little bit of jet lag. I'm not going to lie to you.
But you always find time for us, even when you were in Hawaii. We appreciate that so much. Phil, where does this Baylor football team go from here? That was a very that's got to be just it just seems like it piles on. That another winnable game, and then they can't finish the game.
Well, you know, it's a slippery slope right now. And I say that not being said lightly. It's, you know, how, you know, they're hearing everything that's wrong with them. Nothing's right. And, you know, human nature tells you, well, it's this, it's that, and then doubt creates. And you know, once again, you know, that was a game that was within reason to win, and just didn't do the things necessary to win. So, you know, as I repeat myself, it seems, but it's up to the people in charge and the leadership of that team to keep, you know, preparing at a high level. The coaches, you know, getting better, knowing their personnel, which I see, you know, they are doing a better job of knowing what they've got. And then the players have to take it upon themselves to make the plays that are available to help them win.
Phil, do they look better to you, though, the last 2 weeks? They look to me like they're playing better, aren't they?
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. And that's what I said. It's obvious to me they're not just playing better. They're being used better. You know, the only thing that bothered me in the whole game, you know, playing at Texas Tech, I've said this many times. I've played there so many times. It's a tough place to play. I don't care if there's no fans there or not. It's just a unique place. And with that said, at the end of the game, I would have liked us to have been a lot more aggressive defensively when we we got them backed up on the 14th, and a field goal is going to beat you. And I just thought that and this is being a little critical, but I thought we were too. I can go throughout my career. I've been burned too, being more aggressive, but the majority of the time, it's best to try to get them in second and long. Get them in downs that they're not used to. And we had done it a lot during the game, but we just sort of we weren't in prevent, but we didn't play with the aggressive attitude that the situation called for.
Coach, how about Jalen Petrie with a second week in a row of a pick six, and obviously he's being leaned on heavily this year, and even more so with Terrell Bernard out. But, I mean, I know you've talked about him before, but just incredible, what he's been able to accomplish so far.
Just a great story inside and out. He epitomizes Baylor. He's a kid that we thought was good enough. We committed him. He stuck with his commitment, had an injury. And he's a football player, just like we all thought he was. And he plays with great enthusiasm. He has an understanding. If you ever spoke to him, he's an intelligent kid. But talking, I remember when he was a young guy and he came to our camp, he had an understanding of how to play football, and he plays that way. It was outstanding play.
Phil, when you have a team that has now slipped almost off the edge at 1-5, they're not going to play for any championship. They have 3 games left, and I don't know. I think everybody might get in the bowl game, but that's irrelevant right now. As a coach, you have to win now. You owe it to those who have been there to win now, the seniors, whether there's a mulligan year or not, to win now. Is that correct? And yet, what is the fine line of also looking at the future, especially with the bye week coming up?
Well, I think, I think number one, your objective is to win and prepare every game like it's a championship. And that's harder done than said, without question. But once again, that will come from the coaches. That's their job. That's why they're getting paid and going out and coaching these guys with enthusiasm, which I know they'll do. And then when they're sitting in meetings, they've got to start looking at the future also. And they've got to say, all right, does somebody, wherever position, is there opportunities for us to put them in the game? And we need to evaluate, because I want to tell you something. They're not only evaluating the people on the field, they're evaluating the backup. They need to see where they are athletically and position-wise in recruiting needs. I mean, that's obviously that's going to be a big need for them. I think, I told a friend of mine, he said, what do you see different? And I can tell you quite honestly, there's with Terrell out and offensively with not having, I don't see anybody that's dynamic on our offense right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that offensive line has been a sort of a hodgepodge. It's been tough because the coaches have had different people in there. So they have to get people evaluated to say, hey, are these guys good enough for us to win the Big 12 with? So you be loyal, absolutely, to the seniors, but you also be loyal to the program.
Phil, Patrick Lawrence was just in here with us, and he talked about in the transition between coaching staffs with Matt Rule, part of the invaluable things was the little things that Rule was able to do, having, barbecues or little team gatherings. They haven't gotten to do that this year, obviously, because of COVID, but maybe now because they're practicing and being together, that chemistry is starting to build. It's not something there's a magic formula, but are you seeing the more time spent, the chemistry's building?
Oh, no question. I mean, listen, this has been the most unique year in the history of college football. And God bless those coaches. And I say this with all sincerity, to come in, not have a spring, trying to get to know people, week to week, get the game canceled, having this guy eligible, not eligible. And I think you said it earlier, Paul, the last, and there's been more games they've been in, but the last 2 weeks, you've seen guys play at a much higher intensity level, and you've seen more guys involved in being the ability to make plays. Guys are getting to know their players better, and you can see that. So, yes, I agree with you 100%.
Phil, the locker room. I asked Dave Aranda this earlier today in his teleconference about how can he and has he monitored how they're reacting within the locker room. The offense struggles, the defense is playing really well, although they gave up the long drive. And you can get into something that's splintered, fractured, finger pointing. And he said that he feels like he kind of has an idea of where they are. Yeah, everyone's kind of mad right now. They're all pissed. How do you monitor that as a coach?
Well, I think the head coach and the coordinator set the tone. I mean, the easiest thing in the world is to point the finger. And I think that when you look at the game, you can say, well, the offense didn't do good enough and the defense did. Well, you can also at the end of the game, you say, well, we had the lead and we lost it. So that's why they call it a team, Smokey. And I think Dave can talk about it, preach it. I thought when I went to Baylor, one of the things I told Art, I said, the defense has to quit being the stepbrother here. They've got to be all involved. We got to be accountable, but yet we've got to. And Art knew that, and we did. We became a team, and we lived and died together, and there was a bond. And when we competed against each other, I told a friend of mine the other day, I never had more fun than our scrimmages when I was at Baylor, because they were highly, combative, and they were contested, and there were coaches getting after each other and players, and it made us better. And that's the thing that I look at that they haven't had with the time to do that. And I think that just their leadership from the coaches will keep any of that locker room from being said. Because nobody wants to be the guy that says, oh, it's the defense's fault or offense's fault. Hey, it's a we thing, and it's got to come from the top. And I'm sure Dave's doing that.
Phil Bennett with us every Monday at 5 o'clock on SicEm365 Radio. Paul?
Phil, nationally now, Notre Dame had the big win over Clemson, and a lot of times, look, the last time they beat a number one team, they beat Florida State and then came back and Boston College beat them the next week. And this history kind of repeats itself with that to play Boston College again, but they responded the week after a big win over a big team. Does that mean that Notre Dame is maybe taking the next step to actually be a legit contender?
I watched the whole Clemson game, and obviously without Lawrence, they were a little bit different. But I thought that defensively, I knew they could move the ball. They have the freshman running back or sophomore running back on offense, but defensively, they were impressive, and they were better than what I thought they were. I thought they played with they lined up well. They played the run and the pass. And I think, with their quarterback, he's had a lot of reps. They can run the ball. I think that, yes, I think without question, if I'm from the games I've seen, they're a top 4 team right now.
Coach, what'd you think of Monty's big win over SMU? I know Kaz is over on that sideline. You got a lot of connections to both of those programs, but a nice win for the Golden Hurricane.
Well, I want to tell you something. Showed from Zach. Was a guy. Zach. I watched. I'm not going to be lying to you. I watched it. It was 24-7. I thought, wow, they just can't get going. And then I walked out. And the next thing I know, the game was turning, and Phillip kept them going. They did a really nice job of stopping. SMU started off with great firepower, slowed the game down, and came back and made the plays to win, and it was a huge win. That's one of the things, a great example. Last year, Tulsa lost 4, just like Baylor right now. They lost games that could have gone either way, and they were just a hair short, and that's just sometimes, Baylor last year won a lot of close games, and for whatever reason, playmaking skills or experience, they're not able to win those games right now.
Phil Bennett with us on SicEm365 Radio. Now, I had a chance earlier today. We'll have the interview a little bit later in the week. I had a chance to visit with Art Bryles earlier today on his Mount Vernon team. You know East Texas. You know how talented
Big
that is.
win against the Bears.
Against Gladewater. They beat the Gladewater. When you see them come off the bus, you go, oh, my God. I mean, that's part of what your brother coached there. When Jefferson had those great games with Dangerfield. And all.
Yeah.
How big a win was that for him?
It was huge. You know, and Art has told me, he said, Phil, we're not as talented. You know, I guess they lost their running back. He said, but the thing about these kids, he said, don't tell them that they can't win. He said, because they feel like they can. And my brother Jerry had told me before the game, he said, this could be a tough night for Art. And then I get this text. I wake up in the middle of the night, and he goes, they beat them. You know, and that's something, you know, the Art's belief system is he gets to every kid. And I know he's excited. Somebody sent me a picture, and he was glowing. It was fun to see.
Yeah, that was a nice win for them. Anytime you can beat one of those teams.
Phil, I went to his first practice. I guess was that last year. That was last year when they had the media availability for him, and I got a kind of a chuckle out of everything because that team had been running the slot tee before he got there.
Right.
And so he was out and he was telling them, like, look, go out past the hash, and they're like, what? Like, no, go out there. It's fine. It's legal. Go ahead. And it took him, you could see him, he was, you know, of course, having fun with it, but it took him half the practice to get them to understand, like, no, you're allowed to go there. It's not, you don't have to stay in the slot.
Well, you know, he told me he's had a lot of fun, and the people up there have been wonderful. And I think it's been great for Art. You know, he loves, I told this many times, I don't know if I've been around a guy that enjoys just the passion of football as much as he has.
He told me today that he loves to turn the light on and the camera on. The light's off and the camera on, and he's at peace when it comes to watching film. Is that what you got from him as well? He loves the game day challenge as well, loves winning. He still won't use that L word. Non-wins is how he describes a loss, which is kind of what he's always been. But when he's in a film room, and we hear this about Coach Aranda, when the lights are on or you got a clinic going on, and it's just like you're at peace with that. Is that the way you were, or did you like game day?
Yeah, I think there's something to that. You know, being at Hawaii, I was over there and I'm trying to help them with some things. But, you know, I think that's probably put very well. You know, there's a calmness. It's about sort of who you are. But, you know, the thing that I really believe about Art and myself and Dave, and, you know, we also like to take that and the challenge of transferring your knowledge into a player's knowledge. I mean, you know, we were so dynamic on offense and we got so much better defensively. And Art's system is unbelievably simple. His verbiage and we sort of built on that with defense, and just he has a unique ability to get his knowledge transferred to those players.
Phil Bennett with us. Craig, anything else?
Yep.
Is that one reason why you think that sometimes the transition from Baylor's offense to the NFL became difficult, especially for the wide receivers?
Oh, yeah, no question. Hey, listen, there's guys in the NFL that all they've ever done is work in front of a computer. And they're ate up by listening to themselves with verbiage. Now, not the great ones, but if you've ever listened to people like Gruden call a play, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's not that complicated. You know, X, Y, Z, banana crossing, you know, slot. You know, that's the biggest bunch of BS. And then take a 10-yard sack and they blame the quarterback. You know, and that's the thing in college right now. You see the Ole Miss South Carolina game, 1,500 yards offense. Nobody could get lined up. You know, and I see everybody. You know, one of the things, you can't play defense or offense without getting lined up right. And so simplicity, the ones who can be simple. Reason, you know, Brent Venables had learned from playing Art. He told me many times. He said, I'm not the coach. He said, Art helped me become a better coach because I had to be simple. And that means something.
That is interesting, isn't it? That's a great way to describe it. Did you cuss him out when he offered you the job? You said, yeah, I'll take it, but I hate you for the offenses that are being run in college football today?
I tell you what, I told you the story one time. I was in Shreveport, and Billy Napier, who I worked with at Arizona State, came in, and we were at one of the schools, one of the private schools, and he came, hey, Coach Saban's out in the car. I said, well, tell him to come in. Go get him. And, he I don't know, he don't want to get. I said, tell him I'm in here. So Nick came in. And Nick came in, and Nick had great respect. He goes, hey, Phil, get your staff, and let's come down. Let's talk about, the offenses. These offenses we're all having to face now. And I had said something to Art about it, and I wasn't stupid. And Art goes, hell no, you're not going down.
Hey, on Brent Venables, he's going to be a candidate, I'm sure, at South Carolina now that they've let Muschamp go. Do you think I think he's ready to be a head coach, don't you, Phil?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, it's on Brent's timeline. He's a wonderful guy, wonderful coach. There's some things, though. I mean, one of the things that Brent knows, he knows himself. He's got a son playing at Clemson. He's got another one that's coming up. He's not one of these chasers. He's not a guy that he can be comfortable with who he is. And I think that speaks volumes about him. I know Coach Snyder used to tell me, Brent was a walk-on from Salina. He was just a sharp, great young man. And he's done a fabulous job, everywhere he's been.
Phil, what do you think right now Dave Aranda is experiencing? He's obviously a cerebral, an incredible person. Obviously, this is a tough time. What they've experienced, as you said, is the worst thing in college football history as far as having to try to put football teams together. Some are succeeding, some are not. Penn State's 0-4. Michigan can't win. What do you think right now? How does he just bunker down, go into the X's and O's? What do you do right now?
Well, first of all, I know Dave. Not greatly, but I know him well enough. Number one, he's a guy of faith. He believes in what he's doing. He believes he can impact these kids. I know, everybody wants to criticize his staff, and he's going to protect his staff, which he should. Now, he's coaching them. I guarantee you he's coaching them. And you learn, you don't panic. I mean, and just like Paul said earlier, I've seen dramatic improvement as a team the last 2 weeks in position. Let's just face it, last 2 weeks at the end were heartbreaks. And you keep pressing that button, the rewind, and you keep imposing your thoughts, your beliefs. I hate the word culture because a culture, for some reason, I don't like it. But his beliefs, and those kids will see, you know what, this guy believes in what he's telling them. And he's a stand-up guy. He has a stand-up staff. I know every one of them. And he'll be the guy that goes around picking them up. I can remember I went 0-12 at SMU. We played 7 games that we could have won right at the end. Just couldn't do it. We weren't good enough. Now, I can say that now, but you keep looking for the edge. How can we get then you go 3-9, then you go 5-6, and I'm not saying that, but it will, if they can finish, find a way to beat K-State. That's the number one thing. Find a way to win one, and then the next week regroup and do it again. And I say this so much. I mean, being a leader is action. It's not so much words; it's actions. And I've had people tell me, well, Dave's not very excitable. You know what? You don't have, has anybody watched maybe the best coach in the history, Bill Belichick? Have you ever watched him? Mm-hmm. I mean, would you ever think that anything would give him a ride? But he's a teacher. And whether Dave's leading the cheers or he's sitting there analyzing the game, it's the preparation that they're starting tomorrow and today to get ready for K-State. And as you said, with an open date, I will bet you there will be some things that they will have time as a staff to sit around, evaluate, hey, should we get this guy? Should we start looking at this guy? And I think you'll start seeing a little movement for the future.
He actually said that Tony Dungy told him back when he spoke to him, he leans on him a little bit, there's going to be a time when you're going to lose, And people are going to look at your personality as the reason the team plays the way they do. And he said, don't ever change who you are. Tony Dungy was that way. Lovie Smith was that way. You mentioned Belichick. And that's it. You know, you are out there. I mean, everyone knows what's on the sleeve, on the edge of your everyone knows your emotion, right? There's just certain people built differently.
And you know what? That's just who Dave is. And that's okay, because he's been pretty damn successful.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, if I had to say, anybody that knew me, I never changed who I worked for, who I was. And I think that's something to be commended. And I wouldn't ask Dave to say, hey, try to go out and to do some hype job that you're not feeling. Don't do that. You know, be the coach that you are.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it. Craig, anything else? Paul? Thank you, buddy. That's Phil Bennett, jet lag and all, with us on SicEm365 Radio. When we come back, Paul Catalina's college football focus. And then later on, remember, it's week number 13 of the Texas high school football season. We'll have Riker football tonight, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock against Fort Worth Calvary Christian. But coming up next, it's a pretty interesting week in college football after kind of a dud weekend. Paul Catalina, his focus on college football around the country, next on SicEm365 Radio.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Corley. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Have you tried a do-it-yourself program to lose weight? You may not know that in a typical do-it-yourself program, a quarter of the weight you lose is due to muscle breakdown and loss. With COVID harming obese and overweight patients, being at ideal body weight is more important now than ever. Over 30 physicians in Central Texas, tired of seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves, opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. This is a coach-managed weight loss program that targets fat and spares muscle. The 4 Muscle-Wise locations have taken off over 19,000 pounds from Texas dieters in the last few years. The combination of coaching and weekly body composition analysis to target the fat loss are the keys to success. The coaches teach you how to eat and live a healthy lifestyle. Email SicEm365@musclewisenutrition.com today, and the coaches will contact you about their free educational seminars. Do not wait. Email today and start MuscleWise at SicEm365@musclewisenutrition.com.
Paul Catalina's College Football Focus.
Harris again keeps the feet moving, driving, and is into the end zone for the touchdown.
SicEm365 Radio, our college football focus. The South Carolina Gamecocks, who fired head coach Will Muschamp last week. Ben Briner from the state joins us now. And Ben, I guess this move shouldn't have been unexpected in maybe a normal year, but 2020 with a gigantic buyout that Will Muschamp still has. What was the reaction to the firing of Will Muschamp in the Gamecocks circles?
I mean, from the fan side, I think they were mostly excited. I mean, you know, college football is college football, and people are almost always sick of their coach, especially when that coach goes below 500 back-to-back years, which it appears South Carolina is almost assured to do. So, I mean, I think the fan base was excited because something new is going to happen and something might change. And I don't know even if it was at this point much of a surprise because, you know, at a certain point, we always talk about the money side of it, but there's the other money side of it, which is, you know, money comes into the program because of enthusiasm and excitement. And if your team is just getting crushed as they were week after week, that starts taking off donors, and that can cause some problems for a sitting head coach.
Yeah, and Will Muschamp was supposed to be a defensive guru, and he you know, he has been in his career, but the last, you know, when you look at A&M and Ole Miss, were those kind of the last straws because not only was the offense, you know, never got off the ground, but now the defense was bad too.
I think so, and I think the LSU game where they went in and got lit up by a freshman quarterback didn't help either. I just think it's kind of a case where, you know, sometimes I think that when people say it's year 5 and, you know, they should be in better shape is a little bit overblown. But looking back on it, this staff took a pretty not talented defensive group and raised their floor in his first and second years. And now we're in year 5 and there's no defensive depth and the defense is pretty atrocious. And there's not much direction you can go there unless the offense is suddenly putting up points and points and points. And they've been better than last year, but not, you know, game changing.
So where do they look? What do you get an idea on people they may look at, or is even too? It's not that early anymore to even think about it.
Well, the main trio of names that are kind of at the forefront of all the discussion right now are Louisiana's Billy Napier, who played college ball in the state and used to coach at Clemson. Shane Beamer, who coached under Steve Spurrier, son of Frank Beamer, never been a coordinator, but a lot of people really like him. Very good recruiter. He would fit more of that CEO Dabo Swinney type of coach. And then in-state Jamie Chadwell has turned Coastal Carolina into a really good team this year. And he did that after turning Charleston Southern into a pretty good team before some NCAA stuff knocked him out, and North Greenville. So he doesn't have any big high top-level experience, which is an issue, but he's also won more with less in 3 different stops.
Is money going to be an issue when it comes to who they can hire? So would they not maybe swing for one of the Clemson, you know, coordinators like Tony Elliott or Brent Venables because they can demand maybe more because they've got Clemson by their name?
I don't think it would actually matter in that kind of case. Mm-hmm. I don't think it'll matter in terms of salary. The thing where I think it could be an issue is in terms of another school's buyout. So, for example, there have been some rumblings about, say, a Scott Satterfield at Louisville, formerly of App State, or potentially Neil Brown at West Virginia, both of whom I think, you know, if money was no object, would be really, really strong candidates. But both of them have buyouts. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I think it's in the $4 million range, and that's money you have to cough up immediately. And in the times when, you know, you've committed to a buyout and whatnot, a $4 million solid chunk of money is a pretty big ask, I think.
How did the team kind of take to all that with Mike Bobo taking over?
It does not seem particularly well at this point. They had 4 opt-outs pretty quickly. One of them was a player who probably wasn't going to play the rest of the year anyway. one of them was their best defensive player, who might be a first-round NFL draft pick, so you can argue back and forth. And then there were a couple other guys, including one starter, who both opted out as well. And, recent players have taken to social media to decry the choice to fire Muschamp. Actually, at this exact moment, there's a spat going on between a few recently graduated players and sets of fans. I think it's clear that a lot of people really liked Will Muschamp, and at least in the building, were quite irked to see him go.
What do you think the timetable is for hiring a new coach, given that, recruiting is all over Zoom and everything anyway, so, that's weird as it is, but and in this kind of crazy upside-down 2020, when do you think they'll really move on a new coach?
I think they'd like to do it before December 16th, which is the start of the early signing period. Now, South Carolina has a little bit of an advantage and disadvantage that the recruiting class right now isn't that strong. So if it falls apart, that's not necessarily as costly as if they had a bunch of 4-stars. But I think they'd like to get those pieces in place, but that gets relatively tricky because if you look at it overall, Chadwell, Napier, probably a few other coaches have conference championship games the 19th. And generally people don't like to declare they're leaving before the conference title game. So that can make things somewhere between a bit and really wonky. Now, if a guy like Shane Beamer wanted to do that, it probably would be less of a big deal because he's only a tight ends coach and recruiting coordinator. So we'll kind of have to see how that plays out. I think they'd like to get it done by that date, but starting to look at sort of who might get the job, it seems less and less likely, which would create a very weird ghost ship signing day, which, it's 2020, so I guess that's not so unusual, but it's going to be weird.
I like the way you put that ghost ship signing day. Ben Briner, The State, on Twitter at Briner The State. Thanks for joining us. This is the College Football Focus on Sic'em365 Radio.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Experience award-winning service and expert advice on Ram at Allen Samuels. We'll make sure your Ram experience is everything you expect and more. Now, during the Black Friday sales event, new 2020 Ram Lone Stars feature employee pricing for all, plus 0% for 84 months or up to $3,750 in values. Get an additional $1,000 if you own a competitive brand. No trade-in required. Ram from Allen Samuels.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family-owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sic'em365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
Former Baylor offensive lineman Blake Blackmar was a part of that 2014 Baylor Big 12 championship team. He was a redshirt freshman, didn't play that year, but a part of it. He was also a part of the nightmare of 2017, the 1-11 team, before being a part of the bowl team the next year in year 2 under Matt Rule. He's watched this Baylor team as they've struggled this year under the weird conditions of COVID and an offensive line that's constantly kind of in shambles for whatever reason. Blake Blackmar puts everything in perspective. Former Baylor offensive lineman on Sic'em365 Radio. I was watching how this season has unfolded. Patrick Lawrence has joined us. Jordan Williams has joined us. And now joined by Blake Blackmar, former Baylor offensive lineman, and one hell of a cook. He joins us on Sic'em365 Radio. We're going to get into that because Brian Etheridge is throwing down some flames towards you, and you know that. And I don't think he's very smart to do that. But how you been? We talked to you back on July 2nd. Everything okay?
Heck yeah. Oh, everything's going great right now, man. I'm just getting ready for this throwdown in March we've been talking about.
I know it's going to be epic. So you were a part of the Big 12 championship team in 14 as a redshirt freshman. You were a part of the 1-11 when there were 6 scholarship offensive linemen, and then on the bowl team that made the next step under Coach Rule. When you watch what you see now with Baylor and how the offensive line has had to kind of have guys there or not, as an offensive lineman, how much of missed practice, spring drills, whatever else, do you think has affected them?
I mean, I think it's huge. Pretty much any other position you can get away with not having full speed, full padded practices and missing time just because, you know, if you're that much better athlete than the other guy, then you can go out and play and perform. But on the offensive line, when you're all working, it takes all 5 guys working together. You can have 4 guys doing great and one guy messes up and the play gets half a yard, you know. So all that time is huge. And so they're just getting absolutely beaten down by the lack of, you know, of preparation and spring ball and not having full guys at practice, because that's how you build a strong, successful offensive line. A lot of these guys are great players individually, but they just haven't been able to come together and operate as a cohesive unit because they haven't been able to practice as a cohesive unit. They haven't gotten the opportunity to. So it's, you know, playing offensive line at a high level is all about building culture, and you know, you can have practices where the receivers are, you know, not getting hit, the running backs aren't getting taken to the ground. But pretty much every practice you put a helmet on, even if it's just helmets, the offensive line and defensive line are going to be hitting each other, and you're going to get punched in the chest. You're going to get speed up, and that's what it takes to, develop those habits to become a good offensive line unit. And they just haven't had the opportunity. So it's really tough, because these guys are, I know a lot of them personally, and they're all great guys, good players, and there's just a tough situation that everyone has to deal with.
When you had to go through that year of 6 scholarship offensive linemen and you barely got a break during practice and things like that, were those reps valuable in the long run too, that you had to run a scout team in building that cohesiveness?
Yeah, I mean, that all really started in that spring ball. And it really went back to the spring ball before with the Grove year spring ball. So that spring ball we had barely, we had Kyle Fuller, but Kyle Fuller, great player, great guy. He was going to take his 1 reps, but they weren't gonna tax Kyle and make him do a bunch of stuff. And he was playing through. He was playing through some dings and stuff from the season. And so that spring ball we had I think 7 or 8 scholarship guys, and it was just 1, 2. I remember we had a 3-man rotation at guard and center, or a 4-man rotation, and so one of us got 2 plays off every 12 or 15 plays or something. So it was just, because especially that was when we were all Bryles, so it was all fast speed, tempo. We don't want to change anything. So that was rough. Then the next spring ball with Rule is the weed out year, so we already don't have numbers because there was no real recruiting class. And then the guys they did get aren't coming until, summer. So we had no one running. That's when you got Sam Tecklenburg, hero of the Rule Air offensive line, moving from catching touchdowns to playing center, or he was playing tackle then, just because we only had 4 guys at one point to play tackle on the second team offensive line. And so he would take first team reps at tight end and then take second team reps at tackle. And he screwed up and did well enough that they were like, you know what? You're an offensive lineman now. Don't worry about trying to lose weight.
Wow.
But, so I mean, all those terrible practices, I mean, I look back on them and laugh. They were bad, because it's tough. You'll do good things, but by the end of it, you've gotten 1,000 reps. You're so damn tired that they're looking sloppy. And you're just watching yourself on film like, oh my God, how is this even usable film, because I'm just so damn tired. But that's the kind of mentality going through that with guys that helps build culture and ties that you're able to push through once you bring more guys in, once you kind of develop that core. That's where good O-line culture comes from. And, things don't suck as much during fall camp. You have to have a really hard, brutal spring ball to have a really good fall camp. And that's what I think, at least, because, spring ball is when you can do that. Fall camp is when you want to start. You got to hit, you got to play hard, but you also want to be smart, because you don't want guys getting hurt going into the season.
Blake, with all the changes that you made mention of, the things they haven't been able to do, throwing in a new offensive line coach and a new head coach on top of that, I know that's something you had to deal with. How much of an adjustment does that take, and particularly at the position with your O-line coach, because you didn't have all those things? I imagine that just even compounds the getting to know process and all of that even further.
Oh, yeah. No spring ball for a new scheme, new O-line coach is, it's brutal. I personally hated spring ball, but it's probably the best tool that you're given as a college football, player, because it's especially young players. That's the time that you've learned the offense, you get reps. You're not just playing scout team, and so that's pretty freaking. With no spring ball and just trying to learn everything on Zoom calls and stuff during the summer, that's pretty. I wouldn't want to do it. I mean, and I know Coach Wickline. He's a great coach. His style is much more similar to Randy Clements, the first O-line coach I had at Baylor. So I think they've definitely got the staff, the potential, everything's there to really develop a great culture, great team, great history. And it's not like they're working with bare bones or anything. There's some really good building blocks there. But I mean, to me, I'm not concerned about this year because it's a freebie year. You've got, it's not an impactful year as far as guys' eligibility. You've got a new coach. You've got all this COVID stuff. Yeah, it sucks. I wish we were kicking the crap at everyone, scoring 60 points a game. And I wish it was, and you could just tell it's just sloppy football because there hasn't been enough, time in the system, practice time. There just hasn't been enough of any of that stuff to sit here and demand, a good 10-win season and everything. So I'm not worried about this year in general. I just think it's kind of a freebie year. It's a great opportunity for guys to get better, play new positions, and really kind of, just get another year to fight through this stuff.
It's interesting because it is actually a mulligan year for everybody if they want to come back or keep a year on when they play. I went back and looked at the first 5 games against when you were at 2017, the team that ended up struggling, went 1-11. And nobody ended up the season on the offensive line in the same spot of where they started. Now, it was there's a lot of consistency from you or Tech or Porter or Lawrence, and we had Patrick in studio a couple of days ago. But the starting offensive line was Malin at left tackle, Tecklenburg guard, Ryan Miller, who was a freshman that Patrick Lawrence said
had no business
being there, but God bless him, he had to do something, right? They needed somebody.
Yeah.
Blackmar, you at guard, and then Patrick Lawrence at right tackle. Tecklenburg was a tight end. When you finished your last game against TCU, Mo Porter, who took over the second week, was the left tackle. Patrick Lawrence went to left guard. Tecklenburg became the center. You stayed at right guard from start to finish, and Malin ended up the right tackle.
Yeah, and in between there, you had all kinds of different changes at tackle and left guard and all that stuff. I mean, it was kind of it was the same core group of guys, but it was kind of a fiasco there for a little bit. It was a cluster, but I mean, it was.
Thanks for stopping at cluster.
I mean, yeah, there you go. But I mean, I remember that last game against TCU. We're warming up, and X Newman came in, and he's just like, "Man, I don't think I'm going to be able to play." And we, Pat and I were like, "Dude, what? Like, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "Dude, I don't think I can play." And we were like, "Are you kidding me?" And then, I mean, so we were kind of giving him a hard time, and he pulls his pants down, and he had this blood blister on the inside of his thigh that was I mean, it was probably the size of a freaking pear. And I was just like, ooh, yeah. You gotta I was like, you gotta get that thing. You gotta do something with that, man. That's on you. And then about 3 minutes later, coach comes over. He's like, "Hey, Pat, you're playing guard."
Wow.
Like, what? What? That hasn't taken a guard rep since he got to Baylor. So that was an interesting one. I still have I still have nightmares about this. They run this freaking horn stunt, and it's the longest, slowest stunt in all of college football. There's no reason it should work, and they think they got 3 or 4 sacks off it just because we had to shuffle our tackles. It's like you have to bump. The whole offensive line has to bump a guy over in the middle of the play. Not that hard to do because the stunt's so slow, but they got 4 sacks off at that game because we didn't have the consistency of practice with Malin and Mo and Pat at guard. It was gross.
Was it the bump or was it the big welt that he had on his leg that was gross?
Yeah, exactly.
Blake, Pat mentioned yesterday about, when if you had to switch from the right to the left, because
yeah,
it's tough. And then earlier this year, Xavier Newman was switching between guard and center in the same game, and the way that the muscle memory kind of works, it's almost impossible to do that, isn't it? Just you have to be a really good player to just switch back and forth without at least a couple of mistakes.
Playing center is definitely the kind of the catalyst that'll allow you to do that. I mean, because you're as a center, you're pretty much always play side. So, like the front side and back side of teams pretty much always stop at the center. So you're almost always play side. So it's pretty easy to go, to flip from each guard because you know what you're doing. Now, as far as getting in the stance and everything, yeah, it depends. Pat's saying that because he played 990% of his games at right tackle, But I played left guard, right guard all the way up through, 2016, 17. So I flipped back and forth, and it's all just practice, By the end of my career, if I had gone and played left guard, it probably would have been a little ugly. But as long as you're getting some reps in practice, as long as you get enough reps kind of ahead of the time, and then you get a couple every day at practice, you won't lose it too bad. But if you're cold turkey doing it, yeah, I wouldn't. And it's much worse at tackle. I mean, going from right to left tackle, because the more athletic you're asked to be, the harder it is to switch from left and right,
Blake, I think we've asked you before, when you thought like the turning point was for the rule era, but, ultimately kind of a different question is when did you first see guys really starting to buy in? When did you start to feel not like the switch had flipped, but when did the momentum really start as far as thinking like, hey, the rule way is going to work and we just got to get everybody on board with this thing?
I'd honestly say some of it was, I'd say kind of the start of it was that OU game. When you got T.Y. planting Baker Mayfield on the ground, and there were some good moments in that game. And then I don't quite remember the season. This is kind of a tangent, but I hate all those high school coaches that we've all heard, and they're all like, I remember every play of every game I ever played in.
Yeah.
I'm like, shoot, I can't even. I mean, granted, who wouldn't want to forget some of that 1-11 season, but I can't even remember the damn schedule. But I remember there were bright spots in the OU game, and then the Kansas game was just kind of a sigh of relief because we knew we weren't going to be defeated, We weren't going to be 0-12. And then the West Virginia game is when we had a couple of good series. It was a closer game. And that's just when guys just, you sit there after the game and you watch it and you're like, look, here's 6 plays. If we execute on these plays, and these 6 plays aren't just they beat us. These 6 plays are, hey, look, this guy's not doing what he's supposed to. This guy's loafing. This guy's doing this. And if you get those 6 plays back, you win the game. So it's like seeing how simple it is the next day. And just seeing that it's not some astronomical thing that you have to accomplish. You just have to fix these 6 plays, every game. I think that's when it started turning around. So I'd probably say that West Virginia game.
I know we got to go, but I want to reiterate what you said, and Craig put this up. They have the staff, the potential, everything is there to build a great culture, team history. There's something good building. There's some really good building blocks there. I'm not worried about this year in general. So you believe in what they're doing and everything's going to be okay, and this is just, as you said, cluster?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's just a bad situation, but honestly, I mean, if you were going to have a mulligan year, your first year as a head coach and a new staff, I feel good about it. Mm-hmm. I think that there's going to be a lot of growth over the next couple of years. We're going to have spring ball. We're going to have football. We're going to have full-fledged tailgates. It's going to be great. People are just so used to complaining and finding something to be angry about right now that it's just so easy to get down.
Thanks for your time, and we'll see you in March, and we'll have you on again to discuss the rules, the policies of how this is all going to go down. It's going to be epic. We can't wait to see you again, buddy.
Heck yeah, man. I'm ready.
Thank you, Blake. Appreciate you coming on with it. Again, part of that Big 12 championship. Yeah, he talked about 2017 and the bowl team as well. That's Blake Blackmore trying to give you this week some perspective on those who went through what happened in 17 and trying to give us perspective on what's happening right now. Blake Blackmore, Jordan Williams, and Patrick Lawrence, Phil Bennett, former Baylor either players or coaches that have really this week given us a lot of perspective and a lot of insight on things when they've been wrong or bad or tough and how they got through it and how they trusted, whether it's chopping wood or the process or whatever it might be. All right, coming up next, this wraps up another week of Sic'em365 Radio. No Baylor game tomorrow. We'll be back on the air Monday, including my conversation with head coach Dave Aranda, and we'll look at who makes it into week number 3 of the Texas high school football season in the playoffs. But coming up at 6:30 tonight, it's the TAPS playoffs, including our game between the Riker Cougars and also Fort Worth Calvary Christian. Pre-game at 6:30 and kickoff at 7 right here on Sic'em365 Radio. For Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, and Armstrong Sims, I'm David Smoke. Have a great weekend, everyone, and good night on Sic'em365 Radio. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr.